we present Clement Freud, Derek Nimmo, Renée Houston and Barbara Blake in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is the man of the minute, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much indeed, and welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once again, we have four delightful and exciting personalities here to do battle with each other in this rather exciting game. Just to remind you of the rules, they have to speak on some unlikely subject which I will give them for just a minute without hesitating, without pausing, and without deviating. Remember those points, no hesitation, no going from the subject and sticking to the point. So with those thoughts in mind, let us start this particular programme with Renée Houston. Renée, would you like to talk for just a minute, please, on my first grown-up dress, starting now?
Oh, I'd love to talk about it. It's something I've always remembered, Nicholas. It wasn't quite a dress. It was what they called a coat dress. And I was 9 years old. It was made like a three-cape thing, made like a highwayman's coat with a little velvet collar. And I wore that coat dress until it was absolutely halfway up my arm and my mother couldn't get it off my back. But I've repeated that coat dress so often throughout my life.
Clement Freud.
Repetition.
Yes, I think
Did you say
right.
reputation?
No, he said repetition, and I think he was justified. Renée, there are 34 seconds left, Clement Freud, for my first grown-up dress. Starting now.
A very unpleasant thing happened to me when I wore my first and only grown-up dress. I was walking down Piccadilly on the south side of the street when a policeman approached me and said, "Excuse me, is this your first grown-up dress?" And I said to the policeman, "Yes, as a matter of fact, it is." And Renée Houston lent it to me. It's very tight at the arms. And Renée Houston's mother tried very hard to take it off when I was 9 years old.
Renée Houston, you've challenged. Why?
Yes, repetition. He said 2 Renée Houstons.
We can never
One should be enough for anybody.
No, we can never have too many Renée Houstons. I don't think it's justified in this game. So, Clement Freud has another point, and he has 7 seconds left for my first grown-up dress, starting now.
I later wore this dress in Sauchiehall Street in Glasgow, and
Renée Houston.
The correct name is Sauchiehall Street. He hasn't got it right at all.
And why? And what do you challenge, though?
Blubberage.
What's that?
Blubberage.
Blubberage. It's not one of the rules.
Inarticulation.
That's not one of the rules of the game. All you've done, I'm afraid, is give Clement Freud another point, and 3 seconds to go, Clement Freud, with my first grown-up dress, starting now.
Maryhill Barracks in Glasgow.
I love that.
And as that twee little hooter went, as Clement Freud was still speaking, it noted, by the way, that 60 seconds was up, and now it is Derek Nimmo. It's your turn. Ah, yes, what a delightful subject we've got for you here, Derek. Would you like to talk for 60 seconds on what to take on a picnic, starting now?
I think the most important thing to take on a picnic is female companionship. Then a large rug and a bottle of wine. There you have the nucleus of a good picnic. Together with that, I should take perhaps some tomatoes, a loaf of bread and cheese, and thou. And then I would find a tree and spread all my goodies underneath the tree to eat them and devour them at my will. I would open my... No, I'm talking the wrong... I'm talking no rubbish, aren't I? I'm so sorry.
Hesitation.
I think you're justified, and we won't ask you to explain.
I thought I was deviating, that's why I tried to
You were
come back.
deviating, you were hesitating, and I'm no doubt you were doing all other kinds of strange things. So certainly we're on that picnic anyway. There are 30 seconds left, Renée Houston, for you to talk about what to take on a picnic starting now.
Well, first of all, surely if he's going to take a beautiful girl on a picnic, he's not going to eat her. And when you mention a picnic...
Derek Nimmo, why do you
Not
chat?
talking about things taken on a picnic, she's talking about a point of order.
No, she was taking over the subject, and for some reason she took over your picnic instead of a picnic of her own. Why do you challenge?
Deviation. She's saying, surely if you wanted to take a girl on a picnic, you ought to take her.
No, I don't think it's justified. I don't think so. She's a guest, and so I'm going to... it's rather difficult, but I'm going to give it to you, Renée. So will you carry on? What to take on a picnic starting now?
Well, the finest thing to take on a picnic is lots and lots of food. But not too many
Derek
things
Nimmo.
of the...
Lots and lots must be repetition.
I think it's a very moot point. I'm still with Renée Houston with another point, and still the same subject starting now.
Well, if you're going to have a really good picnic, take various kind of things with you, like sandwiches and hard-boiled eggs and tomatoes And remember that you'll have to carry an awful lot of it back, especially if you take men with you. I mean, fellas like Derek Nimmo, who won't eat sandwiches or anything else. They just want to have a necking party.
The wonderful picture you conjured up there, Renée, of carrying the men back as well. Anyway, as the hooter went as you were speaking, you gained a point, and, let's have the score. It's, Clement Freud is in the lead with 5 points, Renée Houston follows him with 4, and Barbara Blake and Derek Nimmo have yet to score. Well, Barbara has a chance now with, other subject here, which I'm sure will cause a lot of amusement. Barbara, how to shrink a human head, starting now.
First find your victim and have a quarrel with him, which you win. Then lop his head off just above the clavicle, I think that's what it's called, and comb the hair very carefully.
Renée Houston.
Hesitation.
I'm afraid you're right.
She was making a very clumsy job of taking that head off.
Yes. Right, can you make a better one of it? How to shrink a human head, starting now.
Well, I would think the best way to shrink it would be to do what I did with a pair of shoes once, and boil them. You know, that's a very old saying, go and boil your head, and I'm sure that's what they meant when they said it, was that you should shrink your head because you were too big-headed.
I'm sure
and
you're
if you
right.
want to do that...
Barbara Blake, you've challenged. Why?
Hesitation.
I think so. She looked at me as much as to get agreement, and I agreed.
I only just got the head on to boil when she stopped me.
I know, and I nodded. I was all for it. It's up in Glasgow. They say, we haven't boiled your heat, don't they? I've heard them say it there, often that time. Right, Barbara Blake, you have the subject back. You have 34 seconds to talk about how to shrink a human head, starting now.
Then break the skull several times with a heavy blunt instrument, and scoop out the skull and the entrails from the neck. Tie the neck up fill the cavity with sand.
Derek Nimmo.
Well, the hesitation, I think that's revolting. She's sitting next to me, the brains are pouring all over.
Well, you should look at Ian Messenger. He thought of the subject, you know. Having made your point, Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Hesitation, actually. You kept mumbling away.
No, we're going to see what else Barbara's got to say about this human head she's shrinking. Barbara, we're still with you with an extra point starting now.
Then you sew up the bottom of the head and suspend it over a smoky fire of green wood with the head hanging down. Not too near the fire or the head will burn. After...
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Yes, definite hesitation. Fine, Derek Nimmo, what have you got to say on this subject? You have 3 seconds, so you needn't worry too much. But we'd like you to say something about how to shrink a human head starting now.
Pink roses covered with lovely forget-me-nots.
The score. Clement Freud and Renée Houston equal first, and closely followed, also equal Barbara Blake and Derek Nimmo. Clement Freud, we'd like you to start this time. The subject is bankers, starting now.
Bankers are people who look after your money fairly carefully, keep it for a long time, and charge you for the privilege. This is a revolting exercise, and many bankers are rightfully very unpopular as a result. Perhaps the most unpopular...
Derek Nimmo.
Well, he's hesitation. I mean, he's always desperately slow, I know, but he's sort of hesitating rather. It's all so dreary, isn't it? It's so dreary. He just moans on and on and on, that terrible long-winded voice. I do get so tired.
And you made a very good attempt to moan on and on and on then, too, Derek Nimmo. No, I don't think he hesitated enough, so Clement Freud is still bankers with you starting now.
Perhaps the most dreariest bankers who moan on anyone are those who live in Switzerland and are known to some people as the gnomes, spelt gnomes, of Switzerland. These are bankers with pointed heads who keep flat money in account numbers rather than named accounts. You go into a Swiss bank and you say 189-643-729-846-8315.
Renée Houston, why do you challenge?
Deviation. He's gone into numerology.
No, that was the number. I think it's just... I don't know how many numbers they have with these banks. I'm sure it's inaccurate, but it's not devious. So, Clement Freud, we're still with you, starting now.
Derek Nimmo had a friend who was a banker who didn't like Derek Nimmo very much, but this simply shows what good taste many bankers have.
Well, with the assistance of the others challenging so often, Clement Freud, you have given yourself quite a strong lead of 9, followed by Renée Houston with 5, and still in third place, Derek and Nimmo and Barbara Blake. Renée Houston, your chance to try and take the lead. with a delightful subject, greenhouse plants, starting now.
Oh, yes. Well, now you are asking me about something that I do know something about. I love greenhouse plants. In fact, it all started when I was 8 years old. I used to go to the botanical gardens in Glasgow with my father, who used to take me there every chance he could get. And I pretended that I knew so much about plants, till in the end I really did learn. Now, I have grown potted plants myself. They are of a very strange species. They are Hycomstertias and Crogendrums. Now, the latter have no perfume, but the tennae from them are really used for making stink bombs. They're beautiful, and you've got to give them plenty of room to pot them, and in fact, the bigger the pot, the better it is. They don't, the old-fashioned chambers that have gone out of date are very useful. And if you put them there, you have no trouble with them at all. All you have to do is water them once a year, but it must be on a Tuesday. Any other day is not suitable at all.
Clement Freud.
Deviation.
Why?
Well, it's absolute nonsense.
But you were still talking about greenhouse plants, whether it was nonsense or not.
Well,
I had this vivid picture of these greenhouse plants that are quite revolting, making stink bombs, sitting on a potty in her greenhouse. So, Renée Houston, you've still got another point and you've 2 seconds left about your greenhouse plant starting now.
Well, what I was going to say was...
There we go. So you are still in second place, but you've gained another 2 points. Renée Houston. Derek Nimmo, your turn to begin. Things I must warn my children about, starting now.
The thing that I first warned my children about was Clement Freud. I managed to do this, really, by teaching them simple nursery rhymes, like Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet, eating her curds and whey. There came a big Freud and sat down beside it and frightened Miss Muffet away. A little later on, I managed to continue my education of the children, warning them about Clement Freud by telling them about the teddy bear's picnic. I mean, don't go down in the woods today, because today is the day that Clement Freud has one of his dreadful picnics.
Renée Houston.
Repetition.
Why?
He brought 2 Clement Freuds into it.
Oh, very clever. I know there's only one.
I was just waiting for him to bring in Freud eggs, but he didn't.
I don't think within the rules of the game it's quite justified. We're still with Derek Nimmo. Things I must warn my children about, starting now.
It's awfully difficult, really, to instill too carefully into a child the danger of Clement Freud. He is a particularly nasty, repulsive man with a long, scraggly beard who does very nasty things in kitchens. He has unpleasant habits which are not known to everybody, but which I know a great deal about.
Renée Houston.
Deviation.
No, I would have had it for repetition. I don't think it's justified, Renée. I'd like to give it to you, but we're still with Derek Nimmo, and there's only 6 seconds left, starting now.
When I get them to the side of a road, I tell them to look very carefully to the left, to the right, and then glance to the left. And if they see Clement Freud coming...
Well, Clement Freud, we're now with you, and I think I would like to give you a subject in view of what Derek Nimmo's just been saying, and ask you to talk for just a minute now on the subject of Derek Nimmo, starting now. Barbara Blake, you challenge. Hesitation, yes, you couldn't say a word.
It was an absolutely deliberate silence.
Barbara Blake, would you like to take up the subject of Derek Nimmo, starting now?
Derek Nimmo is a very clever actor, comedian, who made his name...
Clement Freud.
Deviation.
Clement Freud. I'm going to give you, after what Derek Nimmo said about you, I will give you a point. So will you carry on?
He's a limited typecast actor.
Your subject is still Derek Nimmo, starting now.
I once had a dog called Derek Nimmo. A scruffy, straggly little bull terrier who spent much of his day doing repulsive things about the house. This was a pity because the real Derek Nimmo, if you can call it the real, the person who appears on...
Derek Nimmo, you've challenged.
Hesitation.
Hesitation. Will you talk about Derek Nimmo, starting now?
I do like to walk by the seaside. Tiddly-bom-bom.
Clement Freud.
Deviation.
Yes, I agree.
Why?
You said I said it all about Derek Nimmo. You never even
I do like to walk. I am Derek Nimmo. I'm walking beside the seaside. I'm talking about myself.
I'm going to be kind to Clement Freud now. You've been very horrid to him. Clement Freud, you have the subject back again. Derek Nimmo, starting now.
If you walk beside the seaside, do look out for Derek Nimmo. who spends much time walking along the beach with bare feet, which have ingrowing toenails. A very unpleasant sight also is the entire Nimmo entourage of children being warned against things coming out of the sea, who are often seen walking behind Mr. Nimmo on beaches in the south and the east coast of England.
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation. He's talking about my family now, not me.
But your family must be very closely connected with you. I don't think it's justified.
They're having to walk behind, and they were near me at the moment.
Derek, Clement Freud, you have another point. You still have 8 seconds left for talk about Derek Nimmo starting now.
An interesting thing about Derek Nimmo is that his family is not very closely connected to him. They walk many yards behind him because deep down...
Well, Clement Freud, with the subject of Derek Nimmo, you've given yourself a commanding lead of 12, followed by Derek Nimmo with 8, which he got most of his points talking about Clement Freud. And Renée Houston has got 7, and Barbara Blake has only got 4, but she has a chance now because she starts this time. And the subject, again, a rather hideous one he's thought of, Mr. has for you, Barbara. But I'm sure you can go to town on this as well, like you did the other one. The subject is snakes as pets, starting now.
Everyone thinks that it's a silly idea to have a snake as a pet, but I think it's a very good idea because A, it's an unusual pet, and what's the point of having a pet if it's not unusual? Snakes don't take up much room, they're quiet, they don't jump at you like cats and dogs do. They lie in a little corner and you feed them with flies and other insects. You can all...
Renée Houston.
Deviation.
Why?
You don't feed them with flies and insects.
Well, she might.
Well, I do.
So I'm sorry. No, it's quite... Barbara...
Well, if you do, you're not feeding them correctly.
Barbara, you gain an extra point and is still with you with 40 seconds left. Starting now.
When I was at home, I looked in vain for a snake to have as a pet because the snakes we have at home are not poisonous. Therefore, it's very easy to have a snake, not as in England where the snakes are poisonous. However, I searched high and low for this snake which I wanted to have as a pet and couldn't find one. And many years later, I was told by my father that the reason why I couldn't find a snake for a pet was that snakes were virtually wiped out in Jamaica many years ago. So I have come to this country in the hopes that someday someone will give me a snake that I can have as a pet and feed flies and other insects.
Derek Nimmo.
Repetition. Second time, she's been feeding them with the flies. And,
Yes, that's very clever. I was in the she wants to find some snakes. There's plenty of snakes in the grass in this country, Barbara, even for the summer on this programme as well. But anyway, we'll say no more. Derek Nimmo has a point and he has 4 seconds left to talk about snakes as pets, starting now.
Favourite food for snakes are human brains. You get some green twigs, light a fire.
Renée Houston, it's your turn to start, and this time we're going to have one of those penalties that have been rather popular before. And this time, in talking, you mustn't use the word and. And the subject is the people next door, and you start now.
Well, the people next door to me are marvellous. For the first time in a long time, I've got neighbours, and there's a young couple...
Clement Freud.
That was an and, wasn't it?
It's a Scottish and, I quite
Yes.
agree, yes, it's all right. Clement, the people next door, and not the word and, starting now.
The people next door to me are a kindly couple of Scots lady and gentleman who...
That was an and.
Was it?
Scots lady and.
Oh, that's right, yes, very clever, Barbara. Well done, well done.
Land it to her.
I was listening so carefully, I was having to spot other things. I thought it was hesitation as well, you see, but I missed the end. Well done. You've got an extra point, Barbara. You have 45 seconds left, starting now.
The people next door make a lot of noise. The people next door are Irish. They often go to the pub on the corner of the road. When they come back from the pub, they put their gramophone on, turn it up very loud. Then they proceed to make a lot of noise. However...
Derek Nimmo.
Repetition. They've been making a lot of noise before. Second
But
time.
I was explaining how they make
Barbara
the noise.
Blake, don't argue with me. You've got another point. Carry on. The people next door, no and, starting now.
However, the people next door are very kind. They take in stray animals. They look after people who've lost their way. They often inquire about my health. They...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Hesitation is right. The people next door, no and, starting now.
I've got new people next door. An awfully nice couple from Scotland, consisting of a man, a woman, a child, 3 dogs, 2 cats, a snake, a parakeet.
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation. He's talking about parakeets being next door. The subject is people next door. Not parakeets and snakes and all the other.
Oh, I see. Oh, what a debate. No, I think that's too devious a challenge. I'm
We've got a whole
sorry.
zoo living next door.
Yes. Well, you obviously haven't been up to Clement Freud's house, so, Clement Freud, will you continue talking about the zoo next door? I'm sorry, the people next door, starting now.
They are called McGillicuddy, a name which is...
Well, Clement Freud's well in the lead with 15 points, Derek Nimmo still second with 10, and Barbara Blake has now jumped into third place with 8, and Renée Houston trails a little with 7, but I'm sure she'll put that right before we finished. Barbara Blake, we'd like you to start this time. Oh, the penalty will be the word the, and the subject is ice cream sundaes, starting now.
Ice cream sundaes are very difficult to get in England. In Jamaica and in America, an ice cream sundae is a delight to behold. It usually involves 3 or more different varieties of ice cream, topped with whipped cream, hot fudge sundae, nuts, and a cherry. Ice cream sundaes in this country are very peculiar things. They are simply 1 blob of ice cream, a dollop of very dubious chocolate sauce, and a nut. That, to me, does not constitute an ice cream sundae and can easily be eaten in 2 seconds as opposed to the two...
Clement Freud.
The.
Yes, and hesitation, I'd have thought. Clement Freud, ice cream sundaes, no the, starting now.
Ice cream is a very good thing to have on Sundays. Many people think ice cream ought to be eaten on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm against this, particularly because it seems such an excellent occasion when Sunday comes round, peaches.
Well, Clement Freud is now with a commanding lead, and followed by Derek Nimmo and Barbara Blake, equal second, and Renée is still trailing a little, but you have a chance perhaps to pick it up this time, Renée. And here's a subject I'm sure close to your heart, Renée. We'll have no penalties this time. The subject is painting the kitchen. Talk for 60 seconds starting now.
Now, what would make you think that? Because it's absolutely true. I painted my kitchen just before Christmas. It's a very tricky job, you know, because kitchens should always be white or very pale pastel shades. But to really prepare a kitchen for painting, you must first of all wash down all the walls and the ceiling with very hot water, near to boiling as possible, and you must put vinegar in because that releases all the fat. When you've done that, you've got to go gently with your brush, up the way as well as down, and 2 strokes to every little bit that you do.
Clement Freud, you challenge why?
It's rather boring. And it's do-it-yourself, isn't it?
It is, but it's still legitimate, so she has an extra point, and you carry on with painting the kitchen starting now, Renée.
Well, if you start at the beginning of the week, providing your kitchen isn't too large, you can always be sure of having it finished by the end of the following week.
Clement Freud.
Has been gallant.
Giving you another point.
Yes.
Very gallant, aren't you? All right, Renée Houston, you have 16 seconds left, and they're all being very gallant, I'm sure now. Painting the kitchen starting now.
When you have finished painting it over for the first time, that's with a stroke up and a stroke down all over the place.
Barbara
leave
Blake.
it.
Repetition.
Why?
She's already talked about the stroke up and the stroke down.
I know, but that's how you paint, up and down and up and down. Oh,
That's
my goodness.
repetition in itself.
I know it is, but it doesn't apply in these rules of this game. So Renée Houston's still painting her kitchen, and she's getting a lot of lovely points for the last run, because this, I must warn you, is the last one. Renée, with your last 7 seconds, try and get a few more points, starting now.
Well, when you finish doing the first coating, then you have to do another coating 3 days later, and you'll find that it absolutely comes up beautifully. If you don't...
That final spurt on the last lap by Renée Houston brought her up from the rear to put her an equal second with Barbara Blake and Derek Nimmo, who are all trailing behind our winner today, who is a clear lead, Clement Freud. Thank you for listening, and from all of us here, goodbye.
chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch.
We present Clement Freud, Derek Nimmo, Andree, Melly and Charmian in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is the man of the minute, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much, and once again, hello and welcome to this particular game. May I remind you of the rules? Each person must speak for just a minute without hesitation, without deviation, and without repetition. I almost forgot them myself, you see. Anyway, on some unlikely subject which I will suddenly give to them, and the other three can try and gain points themselves by challenging. If I uphold their challenge, they will gain a point and the subject, and if I don't, the person who is speaking will gain the point. Let us start with Derek Nimmo, and here's a subject for you, Derek. When I wear a top hat, talk, if you can, for 60 seconds, starting now.
I wear a top hat infrequently and would like to wear it perhaps more frequently. It seems to be limited, really, to weddings, perhaps, and memorial services. One can also wear it at the Eton and Harrow cricket match, and it's rather splendid on those occasions. I remember wearing one once. I was on the dole at the time and going to the Labour Exchange on my way to the Eton Harrow cricket match with my top hat on. And I went up to the counter to collect my dole, and the gentleman behind the counter, who had always been terribly nice to me before, said, "Where are you going today, Miss Nimmo?" And I said, he said, "Are you going to a wedding?" And I said, no, I'm going to a cricket match. And I wandered out, and after that he was always horrible to me after that.
Andree, Melly, you challenge.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, yes. 20 seconds left, and you begin now.
When I wear a top hat, I also wear tails and pinstripe trousers and a waistcoat. I have done this to go to...
Derek Nimmo, why do challenge?
I was going to ask the colour of her top hat. No, that doesn't matter.
It has absolutely nothing to do with the
No,
game.
never mind.
All that happens is that Andree Melly gains a point, and she carries on for 15 seconds with When I Wear a Top Hat, starting now.
I go to fancy dress balls, like the Chelsea Art Ball on New Year's Eve.
Derek Nimmo, you challenged again.
Deviations, that's most devious to me, really. Striding out to a fancy dress ball.
At fancy dress balls, you can be as devious as you wish. Therefore, this is not a valid challenge. Andree Melly has another point, 10 seconds for When I Wear a Top Hat, and you begin now.
And I put on shiny black shoes and black socks, a bow tie and a white...
Clement Freud, why you challenge?
Deviation. She's got away from the top hat.
Yes, I think she's getting a little bit devious now. All right. Clement Freud has a point, and he begins now.
When I wear such a garment, it is always to go to Royal Ascot, to which I've never yet been invited. I go through the test...
So Clement Freud got a point as he was speaking when the hooter went. Andree Melly, shall we begin with you this time? And the subject is introducing people, and you begin now.
I'm very bad at this. I can never remember people's names. And being an actress, sometimes when I'm in my dressing room, people come round to see me and I don't know who they are. I have a special technique, which is to say to the first person, "Oh, I believe you two know each other, don't you?" Then I get very busy picking up some false eyelashes and I hear them say, "No, I don't think we've ever met. My name's Joe Bloggs, what's yours?" And they say Fanny Adams, and then I know who they both are. There is another technique.
Charmian Innes, you have challenged. What is your challenge?
I would say she's hesitating.
It was very debatable that she was. I will give it to you with a point. So will you take up the subject of introducing people with 32 seconds left, starting now?
The best people to introduce people are professional compares. I can't do this myself because they call me a commere, which is a foul word to be introduced by to anybody. My mother has a system when she can't remember people's names on introductions. She turns to the one she doesn't know and says, "Oh, let me see, how is it you spell your surname?" And they always say, well, Robinson. It doesn't work with Jones terribly well, but it's frightfully good with things like Nimmo, which could be Nymo, and finish. The first time I was in...
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation is not Finnish, it's Scottish.
But it sounds Finnish.
All right, then I will give you a point, because it's a rather subtle type of deviation, and you have 1 second left for the subject of introducing people. Derek Nimmo, starting now.
Clement Freud.
No. In actual fact, by my ears, Charmian in his challenge came before the hooter. So what is it, Charmian? What did you challenge for?
Nothing really, I just thought somebody ought to.
Well, that was a very good try, but all it does is to give Derek Nimmo another point, I'm afraid.
Oh, I don't mind, he's lovely, really, and he's Scottish, and so am I, you see.
Well, there we are. Derek Nimmo now has 2 points. Andree Melly has 3. Clement Freud.
That's repetition. They're both Scottish.
But we're not playing the game. Well tried. Clement, it is your turn to begin. How would you like to interpret this subject? Can you talk, please, for 60 seconds on drunkenness, starting now?
Drunkenness is euphoria. It is a lovely state to be in, and you generally get into it by drinking alcoholic beverages such as methylated mac, which is a mixture of methylated spirits and ginger wine, or perhaps more traditional drinks like whiskey, which comes from where Derek Nimmo and Charmian Innes come from, which sort of west of Ireland.
Charmian Innes.
Rather a long breath before he started again. Wouldn't that be hesitation?
It might have been. I would have had him for deviation, because I would have thought that Scotland was not really... Oh, some of it's west of Ireland, only a little bit. I will give you hesitation, though. Drunkenness, Charmian Innes, and...
It's all east of Ireland.
All east of Ireland, actually, remember.
It's east of Ireland, so it was deviation. All right, I was. I knew I was right. It's just that I don't know my left from my right or my east from my west. So, anyway, drunkenness for you, Charmian Innes. With 32 seconds left, and you begin now.
Drunkenness can also be of the spirit, not merely from alcohol. One can be drunk with power if one manages to talk for a minute on this programme and make sense without anybody doing anything that's...
Clement Freud, yes.
Hesitation.
Yes, I'm glad you tried to lift the tone from that methylated spirits. I'm sure if you drank what Clement Freud said, you would not be feeling a state of euphoria, as he said. Clement, can you raise the tone a little with 20 seconds left on the subject of drunkenness, starting now?
Perhaps the nicest way to attain this state is to take equal measures of champagne and fresh orange juice, have both at a good cold temperature, put them into a frosted glass, and drink the mixture, which is called Buck's Fizz, and makes you feel absolutely terrible the next day. When you take a small white tablet, put it into a glass of water.
Derek Nimmo, you have challenged.
He's talking about hangovers now, not drunkenness. Small white tablets going in water.
Oh, no.
Deviation.
Well, yes, but it was still to do with drunkenness. No, I think it was very clever try, but I think I'm still with Clement Freud. He still has 1 second left and an extra point. Drunkenness, and you begin now.
Ginger beer.
I'm sorry, Derek, it was a very good try. Charmian Innes, holiday brochures, starting now.
Holiday brochures are most people's winter reading, along with the seed catalogues. As soon as you've finished your holiday in July or August, or even May for that matter, the brochures arrive 2 weeks later, and you spend the rest of the time wishing your life away until you can take the next package job aeroplane to Palma, Mallorca, or to Italy, or to France, or to Cricklewood, if you so prefer. Holiday brochures have always got girls in beautiful bikinis on the front with lovely tans and make your husbands drool. They always hope when you get there you'll look like it.
Deviation. I have a holiday brochure with an old horse on the cover. It was a categorical holiday brochures always have.
Yes, well, all right. I think that's clever, because it is true. They don't always have, so therefore it is justified. You have an extra point. You have 27 seconds left for holiday brochures, Clement Freud, and you begin now.
Holiday brochures continually advertise tours called all-in tours, which reflect the state in which you find yourself when you get there. They are absolutely wretched things, because it keeps saying this is not inclusive, meaning that for 8 days you have to go without food and water if you want to take part in this inclusive tour, which I think one ought not to buy this sort of brochure for, as it costs no money in any case, and it must be time for someone to...
There was borderline cases of deviation as well as all kinds of things there. I mean, first of all, they don't sell the brochures; they're all given away free.
And I swallowed a peppermint in the middle of it.
And that was one of the most devious ways I can think of playing this game. Andree Melly, it is your turn to begin. An exotic dish beginning now.
The most exotic dish I know is something called Ye Oldie Drunky Chicken, which I found in a recipe book called Ye Ancient Chinese Recipe Book. You take a perfectly sober chicken and you put it in a saucepan with cold water. You bring it to the boil. Then you remove it from the heat and let it cool in the water. You then remove it and put it in a casserole and pour a whole bottle of sherry over it, which is the exotic and extremely expensive bit, and then put it in the fridge for a whole week.
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Yes, definitely. An exotic dish from you, Clement Freud, with 25 seconds left starting now.
The most exotic dish I know is a quenelle de sole nantua. And the way you make...
Andree Melly, why do you
He's just showing off because he's an expert.
Yes, but it's still not an exotic dish. So we're still with you, Clement Freud, and you begin now.
You take two...
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Hesitation.
An exotic dish from you, Derek, beginning now.
The most exotic dish I know was made in Staffordshire in the 18th century by Mr. Ralph Wood.
Andree Melly, you challenge.
Hesitation.
The 7 seconds left, Andree, starting now.
After a week, you remove this chicken, which is now paralytic, from the fridge. Take it...
Charmian, why do you
Awful
challenge?
long breath before and, I thought. Hesitation.
No, you could have had it for repetition of this chicken.
Repetition too, of
It's
course.
too late now. I'm afraid we are still with you, Andree. 2 seconds left for your exotic dish, your horrible chicken, and you start now.
Carve it.
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
2 seconds left, Clement, starting now. Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Hesitation. 1 second left, starting now.
Oh, to be improved now!
And I award a point to Ian Messiter for his exhibition of I can't think of the word. Paroxysm, I don't know, forget about it. Clement Freud, we've sorted out the score, and I think I'm right in saying you now have 13, Derek Nimmo now has 8, Andree Melly has 7, and Charmian, who didn't challenge in that last melee, still has 2. But we'll no doubt put that right before long. Uniform. There's an all-embracive and severe subject, or maybe not, for Clement Freud to begin for 60 seconds, starting now.
When I joined the army, I was issued with a uniform.
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Repetition.
Why?
Well, uniform means the same, and by definition, they must be repetitious.
Oh, very clever, very clever. Think up another clever one and you might get it next time, but not this time, I'm sorry. Uniform, Clement Freud, starting now.
The garment I was issued did not fit, and it was explained to me that this was the king's uniform, and...
Andree Melly.
Snobbery.
I won't give you a point for snobbery, I might for repetition. We're still with Clement Freud with an extra point and you begin now.
And as His Majesty was taller than I at the time, it was obviously bound not to fit. As a result of this, I was also given a rifle and forage cap and sent out onto the square, where a number of other young men, similarly attired, also given rifles and forage caps, flung these weapons about onto their shoulders, off the ground, onto their hips, and marched off into the middle distance, while a man who also wore the same sort of khaki trousers, shirt, tie, and cap shouted orders like goodbye, which was the only thing that he could think of at the time.
Andree Melly.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, I think anybody who's been in the army's got a very clear picture of it, and we're absolutely with you, Clement Freud, on this one. And you actually got a round of applause for it. You have... Yes, you can clap if you like. I mean, you know. It doesn't make any difference to Clement's time. You still have 14 seconds left for the subject of uniform beginning now.
On the great day when I got my officer's uniform, everybody around clapped all the time because they said, what a splendid uniform you're wearing and how
Derek
attractive and
Nimmo.
handsome you are.
He said uniform
I really
7
don't want to hear
times.
anything that Derek Nimmo has to say because it is desperate. We've heard it all before for weeks and weeks and weeks.
You don't get any extra points for going on. I'm very sorry, Clement Freud. Derek Nimmo now has a subject because we did have too many uniforms. There's 7 seconds left for uniforms starting now.
If all the people on this earth had balding heads and little beards...
Andree Melly.
Deviation.
I think you're right. I don't
May I
quite...
just-
What
No,
balding
you
heads?
didn't justify
If you'd
yourself
let me
quick
finish my
enough.
sentence, I would.
You finish it, but you'll have to have a very clever finish to justify it.
All I was going to say, if all the people on this earth had balding heads and little beards, they would be curiously uniform.
All right. All right, I will grant you an extra point. You have 2 seconds left for uniform, Derek Nimmo, and you begin now.
A black top hat and striped trousers.
Charmian, it is your turn to begin. A really feminine subject, I'm sure. Going to the hairdresser, starting now.
Going to the hairdresser, the first thing that you need is hair. The second thing you need is a complete inability to do your own. The first thing that you do in a hairdresser is remove your coat and hand it to a lady you will have to tip a shilling to. You are then shampooed by a lady you will have to tip 1 6 to, and styled, not coiffured, by a stylist to whom you will hand anything between 5 and 10 shillings to. If you can negotiate...
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Hesitation it was, and will you take over the subject of going to the hairdresser, Derek, starting now?
I walk out of my flat and along the pavement very slowly when I go to the hairdresser. Then I board a number 74 bus. I get off at Gloucester Road, walk along Gloucester Road and down into the underground station. I then go up to a little window and say to the gentleman there, can I have
Charmian, it's why do you challenge?
Well, I think it's deviation because he might be going anywhere, not just the hairdresser, and anyway it ought to be a barber.
No, I'm going to the hairdresser very
He's
slowly.
going to the
I'm taking my
hairdresser.
time.
No, it's a good try, Charmian. It is still Derek going to the hairdresser starting now.
Then I buy my ticket and go down into the underground. I then wait for a train to arrive, get onto the train and sit next to whoever happens to be sitting next to me. I travel through to Piccadilly Circus. Out I come, up the escalator I
Clement
jolly
Freud.
click.
You can't travel through from Gloucester Road to Piccadilly Circus.
You
It's
can.
deviation.
The audience tells us we can.
Not on the inner circle, you can't.
No, you can't. I'm on the Piccadilly.
Everybody's having a lovely little discussion amongst themselves. I had to make the final decision, and the audience obviously have travelled this way, and Derek Nimmo seems to travel this way. So we'll still travelling with you, Derek, with 5 seconds left, starting now.
Into Piccadilly Circus I come.
Clement Freud.
Repetition.
Yes, you had a lot of Piccadilly Circus. Yes, going to the hairdresser, Clement Freud, starting now.
This is an entirely pleasurable operation.
Andree Melly actually buzzed just perfection before the hooter, so what was your challenge, Andree?
Mine was hesitation. He said it was a pleasurable occupation.
I will not grant it, I'm very sorry.
No,
well
extra
tried.
point.
No. Now, Derek Nimmo, it is your turn to begin, and I think it's about time we had a penalty because you're all playing the game so well. So I'll mention the subject first to give you a moment's thought about it. Writing thank you letters. We want you to talk about it for just a minute and never mention the word and, if you can, starting now.
Writing thank you letters is a curiously English invention. It causes great torture to small children just before Christmas because they know that immediately after they've received those lovely inviting presents underneath the tree.
Clement
Sorry,
Freud.
mistake. I'm sorry.
We were talking about slips last week. Well, let's have all right, writing thank you letters. I won't penalise anybody at this point with, a lot of time left. No ands. Derek Nimmo starting now.
Andrew is a great...
Clement Freud did press his
May I
button.
just justify that?
All right, you'll have to be clever again, though.
Andrew is a friend staying with me.
Now, Derek, we only have your word.
Well, I deliberately
Now,
laid
look,
as a
I'm-
trap for old Freud.
As I get brickbats from the other three if I give a point to somebody else, I'm not going to be the final judge of this. I'm going to let our delightful audience sitting here decide whether you think he was going to say Andrew or not. If you agree, you think he was going to say Andrew, will you cheer? And if you don't think he was, boo, and do it now. The cheers had it. So you were going to say Andrew, and you have a point, and you have the subject of writing thank you letters with no ands, and no more Andrews either. Starting now.
Androcles and the Lion.
What did you say?
Androcles and the Lion.
Right, nobody challenged, nobody challenged.
You should
Carry on.
ask me to clarify.
Charmian, you've challenged.
Because of Androcles and. I didn't think it was Androcles Andrew. was
Very
it?
clever. Androcles and the Lion. You're quite right, there is an and.
Oh.
Charmian Innes, there are 40 seconds left for writing thank you letters. No and, no Andrew, no Androcles. Starting now.
The trouble with writing these letters is that when you do, you've usually forgotten what present people gave you. And you...
Clement Freud. Writing thank you letters, no and, starting now.
The best way to do it is to get a piece of paper, then reach for a pencil or a pen. Using all the paraphernalia gathered together, you proceed to press down upon the paper with whatever you've chosen to write with. Then say, Dear Mrs.
Derek Nimmo.
Several hesitations.
Yes, I think so, yes. It's very difficult. Writing thank you letters, no and, starting now.
The best way is to write them
Clement
before
Freud.
Christmas.
One hesitation.
One hesitation. Writing thank you letters. No hands. Clement Freud. 10 seconds left, by the way, starting now.
Dear Mrs. Jones,
Derek Nimmo.
2 hesitations.
No hesitation. No hesitation. Clement Freud is still with you, and 9 seconds starting now.
my beloved Mrs. Brown, it is with tremendous pleasure that I have received your beautiful present, which my family, my sister, my
No, Derek Nimmo was in first.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, yes.
I
he
was waiting for the squeak.
I know you were. And we were waiting for Anne, but it almost came to... Derek Nimmo, there are 2 seconds left. Writing thank you letters. No Annes. And you begin... now.
No, and Tamer's write to lots of people, and therefore they always thank them for their presents.
Charmian tried very hard. Derek Nimmo is catching up Clement Freud. Andree Melly, a subject for you. Yes, pantomimes. And we don't mention the word a, and you begin now.
Nursery rhymes, nursery stories.
Charmian Innes.
Oh, poor girl, such hesitation.
Such hesitation. Pantomimes with no
stories,
A's and no An's with you, Charmian Innes, beginning now.
Seasonal entertainment.
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
As she is behind, it's very debatable. I'm going to give Charmian Innes a point and say she didn't hesitate. Pantomimes, no A's, no An's, beginning now.
Pantomime principal boys are no longer played by girls with lovely legs, but by young men with lovely voices these days, looking very like Derek Nimmo and sounding very like Clement Freud, which is much nicer for the women in the audience, because at least we have something to look at that isn't our own sex, making it bread plus bread. The one thing about pantomimes that I like particularly is the fairy, who is always very beautiful and sings rather flat. Nevertheless, she is a magical treat. Did it?
Clement Freud. A.
Yes, A.
Pantomimes, no A's, no An's, starting now, Clement Freud.
The lights go up in the theatres all over the world, and small children...
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation, because pantomimes only take place in this country.
I know it's traditionally British, but I do think there are pantomimes in other countries, so I don't think so, no. Clement Freud, you have 8 seconds left for pantomimes, no A's, no An, and starting now.
And audiences all over the world wish that they would see pantomimes rather than the awful things they see in the country.
Derek Nimmo.
Pantomimes, he has said pantomimes.
Yes, he
several
has
times.
said quite a lot of pantomimes. You have 3 seconds left for pantomimes, no A's, no An's. Derek Nimmo, beginning now.
Cinderella, Jack
Clement
and the
Freud.
Beanstalk.
Hesitation.
Hesitation. Pantomime, starting now. Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Hesitation. Derek Nimmo, start now.
Cinderella, Jack
Andree
and the
Melly.
Beanstalk.
Hesitation.
2 seconds left, starting now.
Opening choruses are what I like.
They've got so good at the game, you can see I've even devising ways of trying to trip them up. Anyway, Clement Freud is still in the lead with 25 points. Derek Nimmo has 20, and the 2 girls are exactly equal. Andree Melly and Charmian Innes, third. Clement Freud, it is your turn to begin. And this will be the last round, I'm afraid. Fingernails. No penalties this time. Nice and bright and quick, I think. Starting now.
I have 10 nice, bright, quick fingernails. Many of them find themselves at the ends of my fingers, and in the early days I'm told that I used to bite them, which I gave up when I was actually 8 months old. I now polish them, varnish them, file them, occasionally cut them, store
Derek
them in a
Nimmo.
matchbox.
Effeminate.
So, what's your challenge?
Deviation.
Don't think it was justified. Clement Freud, we're still with fingernails, and you have 45 seconds, and you start now.
Many nutritional experts feel that fingernails don't provide a complete diet, and therefore, if you bite your fingernails and put them into a matchbox, it's a very good idea to put some yeast extract or other nourishing food onto it so that you have something that will really give you stamina and energy last.
Andree Melly.
Disgusting. Deviation.
It might be disgusting, but it is not deviation within the terms of the game. So fingernails with you, and how many seconds, Ian Messiter? 25, starting now.
It was only 22 last time.
No, it wasn't. It was 43
It's not
last
longer.
time. Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Well, deviation is, you said starting now, he says only 22 last
I
time.
know, it was quite wrong. I definitely
Talking
said...
about 22 fingernails.
I said 42. Derek Nimmo, you have the subject of fingernails with 24 seconds left, starting now.
I don't like my fingernails very much. I noticed them when I was quite young, really. I suppose about 2 or 3 months. And I looked at them with puzzlement, because I do find them a most curious thing. If you've ever looked at your fingernails, you'll realise they're the most ridiculous things that you've ever seen in your life. Now, that little bit of white stuff at the end, very odd, isn't it, really? And it goes sticking up, all that little bit of decayed cartilage or whatever it is. They're very unattractive things. That's
Andree
why I
Melly.
wear
Even
gloves.
more disgusting.
But accurate. So, Derek Nimmo, go on describing these revolting fingernails of yours with 2 seconds left, starting now.
One has to be very careful of matchboxes, but if you open them...
Derek Nimmo hasn't quite caught up Clement Freud. So, once again, Clement Freud, you have won this round of Just a Minute.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch.
We present Clement Freud, Derek Nimmo, Andree Melly, and Betty Marsden in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is the man of the minute, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much indeed, and hello. Welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once more, we welcome back 4 contestants who have competed so ably against each other in this game. We hope you enjoy the fun as I ask each one in turn to speak for just a minute on some unlikely subject, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviation. Well, with those thoughts in mind, let us begin straight away with Clement Freud. Clement, would you like to speak on keeping wicket, starting now?
Keeping wicket is something which you have to do if you don't want to lose your wicket. I first came into this when I played cricket in my school and the captain said, "Where would you like to field?" And I said, "Anywhere as long as it's near you." And he was first slip, so I kept wicket. I got down on my knees, held my hands in front of my knees, and the first 2 balls went to the boundary with nobody hitting them. I was then told that I had kept wicket very badly and went to a night school for wicket keepers.
Betty Marsden, you have challenged. Why?
Repetition.
Why?
Too many wickets.
I think there were too many wickets, yes. Betty, there are 29 seconds left. Will you take over keeping wicket, starting now?
I stood there originally, you see, holding the bails in my hand. They had just fallen to the ground, been knocked off by a maiden over. So I picked them up and I put
Clement
them back.
Freud.
Deviation.
Why?
Maiden overs don't knock off bails.
You're quite right, but there might have been some other cricketers listening and I wanted to challenge you. You have an extra point, Clement Freud. The subject is back with you. Keeping wicket, 17 seconds starting now.
Some of the most famous people who've done the subject, for which we have 17 seconds left, are Leslie Ames, Billy Griffiths, Jim Parks, Alan Knott, to name but a few. But the great keepers of this particular 3 stumps, I wish somebody challenged me. Thank you.
Derek Nimmo has obliged. Why do you challenge Derek?
To oblige, really, I think. And because he was deviating.
Well, in what way?
Because he said, "I wish somebody'd tell me." Or
Yes,
something.
definite deviation. Derek Nimmo, there's only 1 second left in which to talk about keeping wicket. You've gained an extra point. Perhaps you'll get another one now, and you start now.
George Duckworth.
No, Clement Freud challenged first. Just a minute, listener. Clement Freud, why did you challenge?
Deviation? I mean, hesitation.
Hesitation?
Tremendous hesitation.
No.
I said George Duckworth with tremendous aplomb, I thought.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Derek Nimmo. A very good cry, Clement, but I'm afraid all that happened was Derek gets another point. Now, Andree Melly, will you carry on from this point and talk for just a minute, if you can, on favourite smells, starting now?
I think my absolute favourite smell is my knees. On a very hot summer's day, when I've been swimming in a salty sea and lying on a sandy beach, and then have a hot bath, which is usually rather painful because you're a bit sunburnt, and have just dipped my knees in the hot water, the smell is exquisite. A sort of salty, sunny, knees-like, delicious odour. Next to this is perhaps coffee, which always smells much better than it tastes. And those grocers' shops which sell soap flakes as well, and tea and spices, and the men wear boaters and a kind of overalls which also helps the general pot.
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Hesitation.
Yes, I think there was a definite hesitation there. So we have 13 seconds left for favourite smells with you, Clement Freud, starting now.
My favourite smell comes from Mediterranean and is a mixture of French cigarettes, garlic.
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
No.
Between the cigarettes and the garlic.
There was no hesitation.
It was well again.
All you've done is you've given him a point back and makes up for the one he gave you. Clement Freud, we're still with you with favourite smells, with 8 seconds left to carry on now.
Sweat.
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Favourite smell from you, Derek Nimmo, starting now.
George Duckworth, when standing behind the wickets, used to have the most wonderful gloves.
Andree Melly challenge, but I'm sure I will
I
win.
had a very good point there, which was what was Derek Nimmo doing behind George Duckworth, who was behind the wicket?
Long stop.
We will leave that very devious thought for other people to work out. Where subject for you, Derek, being in bed with flu, starting now.
It was in a little shop in the Balls Pond Road that I first met her.
Deviation.
What?
Nothing to do with the Balls Pond Road being in bed with flu.
Well, I don't know. Derek Nimmo, how are you going to justify your beginning? I'll give you a second or two to do so.
Well, there was a lady behind the counter whose name was Fruchimana Young.
That's got nothing to do with flu. Betty,
well, her name...
will you take over the subject? You didn't justify it rapidly enough. There are still 55 seconds. Betty, on being in bed with flu, starting now.
Well, it can be very unpleasant indeed, because you see the flu in particular goes straight up from our drawing room floor, straight through, carried on...
Derek Nimmo.
Well, I don't see how she can be in bed with something under her drawing room floor. I'm
You don't know where my bed is kept?
No, you don't know where her flu is kept either. Betty Marsden, we're still with you, being in bed with flu. 45 seconds left. Start now.
Well, being in bed with this particular thing that was from my drawing room going right up to the ceiling, it so happened that being this particular vent that put a draft down it, I eventually got a very nasty cold, you see. And so the doctor said, my husband is a doctor, so he said to me, I always call him the
Clement
doctor.
Freud, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
Why?
He's not a doctor, he's a specialist. He's an anaesthetist.
He's a doctor.
I've met him.
Only... And he can cook.
And he can cook. Well, I can only take your word for what your husband does. I feel, Betty, you should know better than Clement Freud, so we're still with you with 37 seconds left for being in bed with flu, starting now.
Well, he said, owing to this vent up toward the sea...
Andree Melly, why do you challenge?
Repetition. We've had the vent once.
We've had the vent and the flu up the chimney, yes. I think, Andree, we're with you, being in bed with flu, starting now.
When you are lying down with this particular complaint, you usually have with you 3 hot water bottles, 2 cardies over your pyjamas, a lot of blankets, perhaps an electric...
Derek Nimmo, you challenge, why?
Repetition, a lot of blankets.
I'll tell you what I'll do here, Derek. I will award you a bonus point for a very clever interpretation of the rules, but I don't think I can justifiably give you the subject. Andree, we are still with you with 12 seconds left, being in bed with flu, starting now.
1 bed sock, 1 aspirin, 1 glass...
Clement Freud.
1 bed sock is deviation.
All right, I'll give you a bonus point for a clever challenge, and Andree still has the subject with 8 seconds left for being in bed with flu, starting now.
A glass of lemon and honey by the side of the bed, perhaps magazines...
Derek Nimmo.
Repetition, she's mentioned bed 3 times.
She has indeed. There are 3 seconds left for being in bed with flu for you, Derek Nimmo, starting now.
Achoo is a noise that you often
Andree
make when
Melly,
you're in bed.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist it.
Well done. You've given Derek Nimmo another point. You have 1 second left, Derek Nimmo, being in bed with flu, starting now.
I take a hot water bottle with me.
This seems a good point to give you the score. With all those challenges against Derek Nimmo has put him strongly in the lead with 8 points. Betty Marsden and Clement Freud both have 4, and Andree Melly, for once, is trailing with only 1 point. Betty, can you talk for just a minute on how the spring makes me feel, starting now?
very uncomfortable. It's right in the back of my chair, and it sticks straight in the small of this particular bone, you know, that goes right the way down there. And I have been in this position now, it seems, for many years. And every time the doorbell rings, I leap up like that, and this particular nasty piece of wire, which seems to stick through the material, pushes me forward like a jack-in-a-box. I find it most unpleasant and very cruel that it is not being cared for in the proper way in which it should be.
Andree Melly, you challenge.
Hesitate.
Yes, what a pity, because she was doing so well. Andree, will you take over the subject of how the spring makes me feel, starting now?
Wonderful. I love it. The crocuses and the daffodils coming up through the soil, that first sunshine with the blue sky and the white clouds, and the...
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
She's doing a Derek Nimmo. Repetition.
No, there are no points awarded for that. We're still with Andree Melly, and 19 seconds left. Andree, starting now.
I'm sure that Derek feels the same when he looks out of the window and thinks, spring is here at last. He jumps up...
Betty Marston, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
Why?
Well, she doesn't say what she's thinking. She says that Derek Nimmo feels the same.
Well, she's talking about how the spring makes me feel.
Yes, but how does she know what Derek Nimmo feels?
Because Clement Freud said so.
No, I'm sorry, Betty. No, it's not quite justified. We're still with Andree Melly with 12 seconds left on. But watch it, Andree, how the spring makes me feel, starting now.
Excited and younger than the spring last year.
Derek Nimmo.
She has said spring a number of times.
She has indeed. There are 8 seconds left for how the spring makes me feel, Derek, starting now.
At that particular time of the year, I feel like Andree Melly. Nearly always. Something that's come over me from a very early age when we first met.
And as Derek Nimmo finished with talking while the hooter went again, he gains an extra point for that, which makes his lead even stronger. 10 points. But equal in second place are the other 3, with 4 points apiece. Clement Freud, we're back with you again. The Entente Cordiale, Clement, starting now.
The Entente Cordiale is a sort of feeling in spring that people between Gallic and Anglo-Saxon nations profess to have for one another. This is quite a long sentence, which the French would appreciate because it sounds much better in their language. Recently, it has been very much in the news because so many Frenchmen dislike so many Englishmen that we have professed ourselves to be ever more kindly disposed towards the other nation.
Andree Melly.
A deviation. I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, all I can say is bad luck, Andree. We're still with Clement Freud with another point. Entente Cordiale, starting now.
Every Englishman, naturally, is treated by every Frenchman with a maximum amount of disdain. Ignominy is showered upon him. He is given snails and garlic to eat, especially in...
Derek Nimmo.
That's deviation. This is not about the Entente Cordiale. This is about the hatred of the English for the French.
Yes, there's not much cordiality about it, is there? I quite agree. Deviation. Derek Nimmo, 28 seconds left.
Entente.
Yes, but there's no cordiality. I'm sorry, it's with Derek Nimmo. Starting now.
I'd like to go over to France and meet my French chums when I go over there. I generally go into restaurants and say, hello, old fellow, do sit down, have a drink. And I buy him a glass of beer. And I think this is a very pleasant and cordial way of going about things, especially if I buy him lemon squash, which is even perhaps more cordial. I do really think that in these grave times in which we're living, that the frogs should be given a chance to show that they're nearly as good as the English.
Clement Freud.
A tremendous lack of cordiality.
It's how you interpret... I'll tell you what, it's how you interpret cordiality. Yes, I will put this to the judgment of our very delightful and distinguished-looking audience here. Do you consider that their challenge of Clement Freud was valid? If so, will you cheer? And if you disagree with the challenge, will you boo? And all together do it now. You disagree with Clement Freud. Derek Nimmo has another point. He has 2 seconds left for the subject, and you begin now.
Red, white, and blue is a colour we both haven't got.
Derek has taken a firmer lead with 13 points, but Clement Freud is now second with 5, and the girls both have 4 apiece. Andree Melly, it is your turn to begin. What to take away for the weekend? What do you do, Andree Melly, and begin now?
We have a cottage in the country which is very primitive without electricity, so I take away lots of woolies to keep warm and things to keep dry because it's nearly always wet, and food. But whatever it is I take is never right. My husband turns to me and says, have you bought the... Oh, my.
Betty Marsden, you buzz first. I'm sure it's for what we all think.
Hesitation.
You are quite right, Betty. What do you take away for the weekend, starting now, Betty?
I usually pack a suitcase with various pairs of underwear and top bits and wigs, because my hair always looks ghastly after half an hour in the country. So I don't look at it like that, Derek. And on I go, wearing trousers
Clement Freud,
and boots.
Deviation.
Why?
Don't look like that, Derek.
You're quite right. Clement Freud, you have the subject of what to take away for the weekend with 26 seconds, starting now.
I take with me my wife, whose name is June Beatrice, my eldest daughter, whose name is Nicola Mary, my second son, whose name is Ashley John Grenville, my third son, whose name is Dominic Martin.
Cleric Nimmo.
Have this one got awfully affected names?
I think you could have had him for repetition.
Yes.
We had rather a lot of Freuds, but you didn't do that one. So we are still with Clement Freud with what to take away for the weekend with 14 seconds start now.
The remainder of my children also come with me, as does our mother's help. We pack it into the car, which is called Charlie, and drive off towards our weekend cottage, where we spend Friday evening, the whole of Saturday, most of Sunday.
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Deviation now. He's arrived at the cottage, so it's not what he's taking away for the weekend because he's already unpacked.
That is a rather devious challenge. He's got to get some. Maybe he's going away for the weekend. So we're still with Clement Freud with 2 seconds left, and you start now.
Bread, meat, fish, and sauce.
Betty, the importance of art, starting now.
Well, he is a very important person in my life. His name is Arthur Jones. I met Mr. Jones at a bus stop. And when I saw him and he saw me, we actually bumped into each other. He was getting off the bus and I was getting on, and he knocked me down and was able to pick me up. And I was happy about that, of course. And we walked along a little way to the next bus stop, because by this time, naturally, we'd missed that particular vehicle. And,
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Deviation. This is the unimportance of art. I mean...
We don't know. I can feel there's a great importance in art coming up. I can sense it. Betty, I'm still with you anyway, and you have 30 seconds left. 31. I beg your pardon, Clement. Oh, you didn't say anything. It sounded filthy, whatever it was. Betty, 31 seconds left for the importance of art, starting now.
So anyway, we got on a bus and went to Kew Gardens, and Art said to me, or Mr. Jones, as I called him at the time.
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Repetition, we've had an awful lot of art now.
No, we had Arthur and we've had Mr. Jones. We've only had 2. I don't think it's repetition yet. We are still with you, Betty, and we have 22 seconds left for the importance of art, and you begin now.
Well, I said to this man, but this time, you see,
Derek Nimmo.
Well, deviation. If he doesn't know his name, it can't be very important.
I can only do one thing, Derek, give you a bonus point for a clever challenge, but I'm still with Betty Marsden with 17 seconds left, Betty, starting now.
Well, this male person obviously liked me very much, and I liked him very much.
Derek Nimmo.
Just plain disgusting. She's soliciting in Kew Gardens now. There's a male person and a fellow whose name she doesn't know.
Yes, and you obviously realise the importance of art in Betty Marsden's life. I'm still with Betty. I'm fascinated.
Of men, Betty Marsden.
And you'll still keep us fascinated about art for the last 11 seconds, Betty, starting now.
Well, anyway, he was a boy child when born, and he held me by the hand as we went past the tulip beds, because it was in the spring, and I could see...
As you notice, I'm always utterly impartial in this game. And Betty Marsden, with my complete impartiality, managed to speak, in spite of the challenges, this is the great thing, in spite of the challenges, for 60 seconds on the importance of this man, Art. We'll never know what Art did, but she spoke for 60 seconds about it. Right, Andree, Melly. We've got rather a lot of French. Andree, Melly. We'll have a penalty this time. It's about time. They're getting rather good at the game. Let's have a penalty. You mustn't mention the word A at all. And here's something that a lot of us have thought about recently. Doctors' prescriptions. Don't mention the word A, have a second's thought about it, and start now.
These things are very mysterious. To To begin with, you can never read them. You are given a piece of paper with
Clement Freud. A piece of paper, yes. Will you take over doctor's prescriptions with no A starting now?
These are written on pieces of paper, which chemists quite generally honor.
Andree Melly.
Hesitation.
Yes. Doctor's prescriptions, no A starting now.
You take them to the chemist.
Clement Freud.
Repetition.
Yes. She's gone to rather on to the chemist. Right, Clement Freud, doctor's prescription starting now. Andree Melly.
Hesitation.
Doctor's prescriptions. Andree Melly starting now.
When you arrive at this particular shop, the man...
Derek Nimmo.
Can I join in the game as well? No, hesitation.
No hesitation. Andree Melly has another point. Doctor's prescriptions, no A starting now.
The gentleman behind the counter tells you to wait. It doesn't matter if there's nobody else in the place. You still have to stand about for 15 to 20 minutes. He then...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Why?
Because she hesitates. I don't know why she hesitates.
Do you know why I'm going to grant you a point? Because I'm not going to give you. I'm going to give the subject because she's slowing down very cleverly. The words are coming out in even tempo, but you're getting slower and slower. And
surely that is normal pace anyway, isn't it? I mean, he always talks like that.
Thank you.
Clement Freud, you have the subject. You have doctor's prescription. No A. 19 seconds left. Starting now.
Doctor's...
Derek Nimmo.
Well, he's going to start talking his normal pace, so he'll be hesitating, won't he? Hesitation.
No, it's not. Don't be so unfair. Clement Freud, doctor's prescription starting now.
When there's something the matter with you and you go and see doctors, they write little pieces of paper which...
Andree Melly.
Repetition. We've had these bits of paper.
Not my bits of paper.
But we've had bits of paper. Andree Melly's back with you. Doctor's prescriptions, no A. 12 seconds starting now.
Do they manufacture these pills behind the counter while you wait for your prescription? This is something I've always wondered. I imagine they had mini cake tins.
Betty Marsden, no. Betty's challenge was in first.
Yeah, sorry, I was wrong. I thought she said A, and she hadn't. I do apologize.
You take it back. There's 2 seconds
take it
left.
back,
Doctor's
absolutely.
prescription starting now. Derek Nimmo, you challenge.
Hesitation, she didn't
Hesitation.
What's it
Derek
to me?
Nimmo, you have doctor's prescriptions, no A starting now.
Half a crown for each item.
Andree Melly.
I hoped you'd hesitate.
You hoped you'd hesitate, all right. Well, half a crown. Well
Half
done.
a crown.
An extra point
Half
for
a
Derek.
crown. I said it first.
Actually, Betty said it first.
Betty said it first, all right. I'll
I
give
buzzed.
it. But you buzzed, all right. I'll give a point to them all except Derek Nimmo. And the score at that point was Clement Freud now taken the lead. He has 18 points. Derek Nimmo has 15, Andree Melly 10, Betty Marsden has 9. So it is Clement Freud in the lead, followed by Derek, followed by Andree, followed by Betty. All fairly close. Derek, Nimmo, your turn to start, and let's have another penalty this time. The word "the." How to perform a Cornish floral dance. Have a second's thought about it, because the penalty mustn't mention the word "the."
How to perform what? A Cornish floral dance.
You're playing for time, aren't you? A Cornish floral dance. Starting now.
When I'm in Totnes in the summer months, I walk up...
Clement Freud.
The summer months.
Oh, yes, well done. Yes. It was so quick. How to perform a Cornish or the Cornish floral dance starting now.
Truro and Oakhampton are most beautiful parts of Cornwall in which lovely Cornish dances are nightly performed. A number of beautiful people living in localities around these aforesaid villages gather together in floral attires and by moving one leg in front of the other...
In front of the other.
Well done. How to perform a Cornish floral dance starting now.
By moving slowly round in a...
Clement Freud. Too slowly. Yes, you're quite right. Take the subject over with no "the" starting now.
Olé, they shout to one another.
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation, they don't.
I quite agree. I've never heard an olé in a flourish Cornwall dance. Flourish, I'm sorry. Derek Nimmo. How to perform a Cornish floral dance. Know these starting now.
If you go into a Cornish town and you go into a village hall where they're practicing for their Cornish dance, you will hear them gathered together chanting the words of the dance, which go roughly like this. O yer mar, o yer dur, o yer ara dru, moi na, yer o yer.
Andree Melly, why do you challenge?
Well, that's Cornish for thee.
in all fairness, give it to you, but I will give you a bonus point for a very clever challenge. Incidentally, you all four missed a "the" before that. I think some of our audience spotted it, but you missed it. So you've been very lucky, Derek. You've still got the subject. You have 14 seconds left, and you start now.
I emerge from a village hall with flowers round my ankles, wandering down a high street, singing the gentle song that I have been...
Betty Marston.
Singing the
gentle song. All right, Betty, with 5 seconds left for the subject with no "the," start now.
Yellow and orange ribbons in my hair.
Clement Freud. Why do you challenge? Hesitation?
I was being poetical.
I know.
I was allowed that.
But
poetry.
Whether the hesitation is poetical or not, it is still...
Buzz for deviation, as we know, she wears a wig anyway, doesn't she?
All right, Derek, but it's still Clement Freud was in first with his challenge. You have the subject back. And how many seconds? Only 2 seconds left, starting now.
Merrily round and...
Well, Clement Freud is still in the lead, and as that is all we have time for, I judge that Clement Freud is the winner of the contest. And from all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch. We present Clement Freud, Derek Nimmo, Andree, Melly, and Charmian in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is the man of the minute, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much indeed. Hello and welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once more, we welcome 4 people who have competed so ably in this game against each other. And once more, they're going to enjoy in this battle of wits. We hope you enjoy the fun as I ask them to speak individually for just a minute on some unlikely subject that I will give them, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviation. And we will start this week with Derek Nimmo. Derek, here is a good subject for you, I'm sure. Outdoor games. Will you talk for just a minute, please, starting now?
My favourite outdoor game, I suppose, really, is Crown Bowls. This is a game played in the north of England, where I was born, and it consists of the same rules as the...
Andree Melly, you have challenged. Why?
Hesitation.
Definite hesitation. There are
There
still
was an
40...
impediment, you know. It's very shameful, I think, when she sort of challenges me on my impediment. I think it's very rude and offensive.
And I think you're being very clever to try and make out that it was your impediment that caused you to hesitate.
If she had 3 legs, I wouldn't keep
Derek
saying Andree
Nimmo.
Melly.
Andree Melly, there are 47 seconds to talk about outdoor games starting now.
0.
Derek Nimmo, you challenge. Hesitation. You have outdoor games back again starting now.
It's terribly difficult to enjoy outdoor games if you have an impediment, but I do my best. My favourite...
Andree Melly. Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Hesitation.
Yes, definitely. Outdoor
Milking
games.
the audience, milking the audience for a cheap laugh.
Elementary technique.
Outdoor games, Clement Freud, starting now.
One of the great outdoor games is football, cricket, hockey, and rugby.
Andree Melly.
Deviation, he said one of the outdoor games and then gave a list of about 6.
That is quite right. That, in my interpretation of the English language, is a somewhat devious way of speaking. So, Andree, you have 35 seconds left for outdoor games, and you start now.
Hockey.
No, Derek Nimmo. Andree Melly, outdoor games, 34 seconds left, starting now.
Hockey is one of them.
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Repetition, she's already said it twice.
Yes, but she can say it twice in my interpretation of the rules. She hasn't said it 3 times. Outdoor games, Andree Melly, starting now.
There are 11 aside, a centre forward and a centre half and a left wing and one on the right, and a back and a goalie. This is a game...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Oh dear, a very subtle... look, this is sometimes when you're not quite sure. Look, I'm going to ask our audience at this point to judge, because sometimes when is hesitation not and when it is. If you think that Andree Melly was hesitating then, will you please cheer? And if you think she wasn't, will you please boo and do it all together, starting now? I I decide the boos have it. Andree was hesitating. Clement Freud has the subject. 24 seconds. Outdoor games, Clement Freud, starting
Cricket
now.
is a quite splendid outdoor game. You have a wicket-keeper and a bowler. The ball is slung down the pitch. A bat is...
Andree Melly, the subject you have challenged. Why?
Deviation. If it's slung, you get slung out.
No, you can sling a ball in any game. I do assure you of that, Andree. You've said... I know you're not very up on outdoor games, you said so. Clement Freud still has the subject. 14 seconds left, starting now.
Another excellent outdoor game is lacrosse, which is played by a number of ladies on either side who flick...
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation can be played by men as well.
Yes, but it's within the way he was speaking. I don't think it's genuine deviation. No, it's a clever try. I can't award you any points for it. 7 seconds left for outdoor games. Clement Freud starting now.
In North Lancashire, where Derek Nimmo comes from, a number of men also play lacrosse, and the same sort of thing. They have lacrosse bats.
Derek Nimmo, you got your challenge in before.
We said lacrosse 4 times.
Yes, he definitely did. Repetition. You have 1 second left to talk about outdoor games. Derek Nimmo starting now.
Drafts.
Right, well, actually, Derek Nimmo does get the point for speaking as the hooter went, but Charmian did challenge. What was your challenge, Charmian, Innes, out of interest?
I thought he said drafts, and that's an indoor game. It's about the only one I played. Did
Not
you?
in North Lancashire.
Oh, well,
You played with and you push them around.
Andree Melly, it is your turn to begin on this particular occasion. The subject is hay fever, and you start now.
This is a title of a comedy play, but it's also a very unfunny complaint which several people suffer from in the spring. One of the chief symptoms...
Charmian Innes, why do you challenge?
Deviation, quite inaccurate. It happens in June when the pollen flies.
And actually, according to the calendar, June is the spring. Spring is 20th of March, goes through to the 20th of June. So June is still the spring. So Andree, we're still with you. Hay fever, starting now.
When the pollen begins to fly, people get this complaint and sneeze a great deal. Their eyes water and they feel very sorry for themselves. Other people seem to not be very sympathetic towards this complaint, but I do understand that it's horrid for those that have it. You begin to take great...
Charmian Innes.
Hesitation on beginning, I thought.
Yes, hesitation, definitely. Hay fever, Charmian Innes, with you starting now.
Runs in my family like mad. My daughter has it, and so does my brother-in-law. People who have it very badly have to stop driving their cars because they sneeze themselves straight into bollards and over policemen's feet. And this makes the policemen swear while they're sneezing, and they can't explain themselves because they're so racked with all this terrible eruption that's going on that they can't say, "Officer, please, I couldn't help it, I was drunk."
What a grand finish. Well, you talked then for 30 seconds on the subject without being interrupted. Very well done, Charmian. And you gain a point as you were speaking while the hooter went. Let's have the score now. Right, it's all pretty even. Clement Freud and Andree Melly both have 4 points. Derek Nimmo has 3 and Charmian Innes has 2. Clement Freud, it is your turn to begin. This time, photo finishes, starting now.
A photo finish is something that happens on racecourses, either dogs or horses, when a number of animals pass the post so closely together that the judge is unable to tell them apart with what is loosely called his human eye, and he therefore calls upon the camera to judge for him. This takes some time, and I would like to give you an idea of just how long it takes. The horses pass the post, lock together, and a voice says, "Photo finish." And now this is what happens.
Derek Nimmo, you challenge.
Well, it's not really very close to photo finish. Hesitation. It's taking too long.
Yeah. Now, can you justify that, Clement?
After a pause of about 2.5 minutes, which I was going to do,
no,
the judge says, "Here's the result of the photo finish. First, number 14.
You should have found a cleverer way of giving us that pause, Clement. Derek Nimmo, you have the subject of photo finishes with 28 seconds left, starting now.
In 1938 and 1939, I spent some time...
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
Why?
There were no photo finishes before the war.
May I please continue?
You may justify
You
yourself
may
in
justify
1 second.
yourself if you can very rapidly.
Yes, well, the Russian guard on the border said to me as I left Leningrad, "Don't photo us, photo finish."
The audience are in full agreement that you've gained that point, Derek Nimmo. And you have 25 seconds left for photo finishes, starting now.
Whenever I'm playing bowls in the north of England, I take along with me my baby Brownie. I place this on the grass, and when I bowl the woods across the top of the crown green, I have a friend waiting at the other side, waiting to photograph the finish.
Andree Melly.
He waited and waited.
Yes,
he
now,
hesitated.
occasionally he has complained in this game about his natural impediment.
Well, I'm sorry.
I felt that on this occasion it was Derek Nimmo's natural impediment that tripped him up. So, Derek, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. You still have the subject starting now.
Snap goes my chum at the other end of the green, and then produces for me from his Polaroid camera, which he has abandoned for his brownie.
Clement Freud.
Deviation, it was a brownie. It's become a Polaroid.
I said he'd abandoned it, you see. Quick finish.
Yes, no, that was a very clever, very quick piece of challenging for deviation. Clement Freud, you have the subject with 2 seconds left. Photo finishes starting now.
Greyhounds finishing close together.
Well, Derek Nimmo has 7 points, Clement Freud has 6, Andree Melly has 4, and Charmian Innes has 2. Charmian Innes, your turn to begin. Easy ways to lose a man starting now.
There are several of these. If you're single, when I was a very young girl, I was 2 or 3 years ago, and the lights go out and you're in your house with him and he seizes your hand, a good way to get rid of him is to say, "Never mind that, Charlie, I'll just mend the fuse." And he will run down the road at a rate of knots that makes the Queen Mary look like a dinghy. If you're married...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, I would say so. Clement Freud, can you talk for the remaining 37 seconds on easy ways to lose a man? Starting now.
One of the very easiest ways...
Charmian Innes, why do you challenge?
Deviation, he can't possibly lose a man the way I lose one, and if he can, he can't talk about it.
A very clever try, Charmian, but you haven't heard what Clement's had to say yet. The easy ways to lose a man, Clement Freud, starting now.
When I take a chap to a football match and I say, "Will you meet me here after the game by the tea bar?" he very frequently does not turn up. And I say to myself, "Well now, Clement Freud, this is another chap you have lost." Or to put it another way, this is one of the easiest ways to lose your acquaintances. But there are a number of other methods whereby the human race can become
Andree Melly.
Hesitation.
Yes, and that's easy ways. What a difficult subject, though. Anyway, easy ways to lose a man, Andree, starting now.
To go to one place where you think he's going to meet you and he's gone to another. That means you've lost him before you've even met him, and is probably the easiest way.
Well, as Andree was speaking, as the Hooter went, she has another point. She now has 6, but Clement Freud is still in the lead with 8, followed by Derek Nimmo with 7, but Charmian still has only 2. Yes, Derek Nimmo, it's your turn to begin. So let us go now from outdoor games, this time indoor games, starting now.
Indoor games? I really rather prefer to outdoor games because they're generally warmer, especially in England. My favourite indoor game, I think, is Sweethearts. Then you get a large paper bag and you put into the paper bag the names of famous lovers in history, Romeo and Juliet and so on, Clement Freud and Mrs. Clement Freud and so on. And then you pick out of the bag a name, Romeo, for instance, or Juliet. Then whoever gets the one that is opposite to you goes out of the room with the person that they've picked. Jolly nice game, that. Another good game is Sardines. You go and find a small cupboard. You climb into the cupboard, summon your chums to join you, and when they find you, they all squash in with you. It's very nice, actually, especially on a cold day. Postman's Knock is a jolly nice game. Awfully like Postman's Knock.
Andree Melly, why do you challenge?
Repetition. These games have all the same thing in mind.
I will give you a bonus point for a clever challenge, but we're still with Derek Nimmo on indoor games starting now.
Knock, knock goes the door handle. Who's there, I say?
Charmian Innes, so you challenge.
The door handle, rather, went...
All right, Charmian Innes, you have the subject, indoor games starting now.
A perfectly pernicious indoor game is bridge, which has caused more divorce and marital arguments than I would care to shake a stick at, whatever that may mean. Shaking a stick at people is...
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation, she doesn't know what it means.
Out of her own mouth, she committed herself. Deviation, yes, Derek. 2 seconds left for indoor games starting now.
Tap, tap goes the door handle.
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Repetition.
Yeah. Why? It was knock, knock
the
last
second
time.
Tap.
No, I think it was knock before.
We put up with knock, knock. Now
Tap,
tap, tap.
yes.
One tap is enough. Come now.
Yes, but there's lots of different kinds of
bludgeon
taps.
him.
And
Stop
lots of different
bludgeoning
knocks.
him, Freud.
And we usually go on words in this game, and he's not used the word tap-tap before, so again you have the benefit of the doubt. With 1 second left and another point, Derek, indoor game starting now.
Rat-a-tat-tat.
I'll just find out what Clement Freud's challenge was.
Repetition.
Why?
Tat, 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 tat.
Very clever. I will give you an extra point for that, Clement Freud. Oh, I had to give you the subject, too, because the hooter hasn't gone. There's half a second left, Clement Freud. Can you talk for half a second on indoor games, starting now?
Ludo.
So, Clement, your clever challenge gained you actually 2 points, which gives you the lead this time. Clement, a subject I'm sure extremely close to your heart. We'd like you to talk on now, if you can, for just a minute. Autographs, starting now.
Autographs are your signature put on bus tickets and other unlikely pieces of paper which people, members of the public, thrust under your nose and always excuse themselves by saying, "This is for my little girl," somehow by disassociating themselves with actually wanting the autograph.
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Clement Freud, did you hesitate? No. I suppose the only thing I could do is...
I spoke with tremendous fluency.
Did you? give them a half point each. And so Clement Freud keeps the subject, and you go on with the subject starting now.
I have yet to meet a person who has come up to me honestly and say, "Please, could I have your autograph for my..."
Charmian, is my challenge.
Deviation quite inaccurate. I went up to him tonight before the show and got his autograph.
Oh, how terribly clever.
You haven't let me finish.
Well, all right, justified.
She said, "Could I have your autograph for my little girl?"
Yes, but it was really me.
All right, I'm still with you, Clement Freud. Autographs, 33 seconds left, starting now.
So, clutching Miss Charmian in his book, I wrote into it to Alison Innes, who is her daughter, with best...
Charmian, is my challenge.
Not Addison Innes. I married a man called Mackintosh.
That's your own affair.
It wasn't an affair.
Clement
I married
Freud,
him.
did you write Alison Innes? Did you write, be honest, did you write Alison Innes?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. All right, Charmian has got the subject over. She has 27 seconds left for autographs starting now.
The trouble with having children is that they do ask you to get autographs for them if you're an actress, and it's all rather humiliating because I feel I ought to be in ankle socks with a bow in my hair, which would make me look exactly like a horse, so I don't do it.
Derek Nimmo,
She's
why do
talking
you...
about her physical appearance, not autographs in there. She says she looks exactly like a horse.
And you consider that...
That's there all the time.
But as I think that Charmian is a very attractive lady, I consider that's very devious. So, Derek Nimmo, you have won the challenge. 15 seconds left for autographs starting now.
I was standing in a pub the other day with Clement Freud, and a gentleman came up with his old grey-haired mother leaning on his arm and said, would you like to meet my mother?
Charmian
And
is.
Clement Freud said, no.
Just a minute, Charmian.
Let him get the gag out, I
I will
know.
grant you your challenge, but let's go back to the game, please. Derek Nimmo does go on a bit. He waffles a bit. Someone else. We're only allowed one waffler on this programme, Derek Nimmo. Charmian Innes is back with you. Autographs with 8 seconds left, starting now.
There are all sorts of ways to sign one's own autograph, with best wishes, with love from, all luck to... Ooh.
So, Charmian Innes has another point, and Derek Nimmo, it's back with you to start. Let us now have a penalty round. You mustn't mention the word A. The subject, Derek, will be taking photographs, and begin now.
When I used to take photographs, I used to get people to assemble in groups. Mother, uncles, aunts, children, and so on. Put my camera, my baby brownie, on a stand.
Clement Freud.
On a stand.
On a stand, yes. Taking photographs, Clement Freud, no A's, starting now.
So,
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, taking photographs, no A's, Derek, starting now.
Recently...
Derek Clement Freud.
hesitation.
No, I don't think so. It's very difficult to judge, but I'm with Derek Nimmo still. 45 seconds left. Clement Freud, you challenge again.
Favoritism.
I said earlier on I was always impartial. I said it last week sometime. But Derek Nimmo, it is 45 seconds left for taking photographs starting now.
Recently, I went to see a film called Blow Up.
Clement Freud.
A film.
Film, yes. Taking photographs with you, Clement Freud, starting now.
So Derek Nimmo's family is ready and waiting to be photographed and aligning them in a straight circle.
Derek Nimmo.
In a straight
circle, yes. Taking photographs with 35 seconds left starting now.
In this film.
Clement
go on.
Freud.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, I grant you this time. Taking photographs, Clement Freud, starting now.
You rotten Nimmos, I shout at the gathered family, and back they cry, nonsense, how wrong you are.
Hesitation. Taking photographs, no A, starting now, Derek.
In this film, Blow Up, there's quite a different method of taking.
Yes, Clement Freud.
Quite A.
Yes, quite
Yes, I'm not very good at
Right,
this, am
come
I?
on, 20 seconds left. Taking photographs, starting now. Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
The girls don't press very quickly, do they?
Can't get him keeping
I
it
must
with
explain
them.
to the listeners that whoever presses first eliminates the other people who press. So they've all been trying to get in, but Derek's gone in first again. So it is back with you with 18 seconds left for taking photographs. No A's. Derek starting now.
Greyhounds in the slips waiting to be photographed at race courses. This is always an imposing
Andree, Melly,
sight.
you've got it.
Hesitation.
Hesitation. Taking photographs for you, Andree. No A's. Starting now.
This is quite a difficult...
Clement Freud. Quite difficult. Yes, it is very difficult. Taking photographs. Starting now, Clement.
My children are very fond of doing this because when cameras come out, they look towards lenses, smile, bare their teeth.
Well, another point to Clement Freud is the hooter went while he was talking. He now has a commanding lead over Derek Nimmo, who still has quite a good lead over Andree and Charmian, who are equal third. Andree, the subject is with you. A second to think about it. It is the subject of Hollywood, because I'm going to have a penalty on this round as well, because I think it's good fun. The penalty with the word the. You mustn't mention the word the. Subject is Hollywood, and you start now.
Hollywood is not as glamorous as you might imagine. For one thing, it isn't really there. I thought it was a place like Blackpool or Oxford, but it's a suburb like perhaps Hendon to London. The people there...
Clement Freud, the people. Hollywood is with you, and there are still 2 seconds left, starting now.
Hollywood is a very beautiful suburb of Los Angeles, a town in California which is a state in United States of America.
In United...
The United States? A United States?
The United States. Oh, no, it's
United-
the...
Oh, what a
this time.
dirty trick.
I know, it's very difficult. All right, I
Clever.
won't penalise you. Oh, he doesn't. All that happens is Clement Freud gets another point. He still has the subject of Hollywood starting now.
There are many dirty tricks perpetrated in Hollywood. One of them recently was when a young film actress, having successfully done her first audition and got a part in a lovely film, was approached by an agent who said to her, "Will you kindly sign this piece of paper, because that would make me represent you in the capacity..."
Andree Melly.
In the capacity.
Yes, hesitation and everything. Right. Hollywood is back with you, Andree Melly, and there are only 2 seconds left, and you start now.
Smog.
Clement Freud.
Hesitation?
No, it was no hesitation. She has another point. Hollywood with you, Andree Melly, starting now.
Sunshine.
There was no hesitation. You have another point and still 1 second left. Starting now.
Swimming pools.
Clement Freud has given you 3 points. What a sporting chap he is. And that is 60 seconds. Mind you, in this particular contest, he can afford to do it because he has a commanding lead of 21 points. All he's done is brought Andree Melly up rather close to Derek Nimmo, who has 16, Andree Melly 15, and Clement Freud's challenged me.
I want to bring her closer to Derek Nimmo.
Oh, yes. But we must try and be fair and help Charmian in this as well. She's only got 11 points. What do you want, Derek Nimmo?
Well, if I give her an extra point to bring her closer to me, I'm buzzing as well, that's all.
Let us get back to the game. And the subjects I will give you before I give you the penalty, Clement Freud, it's your turn to begin. The subject is toothpicks, which is a very good subject for anybody who's going to do with cooking. And the penalty will be the word and. So no ands, please, as you talk, if you can, for just a minute on toothpicks, starting now.
Toothpicks are made of wood or quill.
Andree Melly.
Hesitation.
Andree Melly, you are right. Toothpicks and no ands, starting now.
I always want them in restaurants and they never seem.
Clement
and
Freud.
they never seem.
And they never seem. Toothpicks with a lot of time left, starting now.
Having achieved a toothpick, you put it in your hand, try to get it between your teeth, to dislodge some foreign body which might have found its way.
Andree Melly.
It's disgusting.
It may be disgusting, but it's still within the context of the game. I won't penalise you, Andree. It is still no points awarded. Toothpicks, no hands, starting now.
Oh ho, you would say if you were Derek Nimmo. I have discovered...
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation, I wouldn't say oh-ho. Aha, but not ho-ho.
Derek, I believe you that you wouldn't say oh-ho or ho-ho or whatever it was. So, toothpicks, it's over with you and no hands, and you start now.
The particular delight of going to a Chinese restaurant is those lovely pieces of quill which you find in a little jar in the centre of the table for picking at your teeth. This enables you to eat the meal.
Charmian Innes.
I thought there was a hesitation.
You were right. There was a hesitation. You have the subject of toothpicks and no hands, Charmian, starting now.
The first requisite for using these instruments is to have teeth. If one has not, it makes it a very awkward operation indeed. They are often made of balsa wood, I understand, which is the same stuff they use for hitting people over the head with in fights in television. And then they pick their
Clement
teeth off
Freud.
the floor.
And yes, toothpicks with 11 seconds left, starting now.
Molars are particularly rewarding teeth from which to pick because they are large,
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, yes. Toothpicks, no hands, 5 seconds, starting now.
Nail files can be used quite easily, really.
And Andree Melly.
Hesitation.
Yes, I think so.
Hello,
Toothpicks with 2 seconds left, starting now.
Tough steak, for instance.
Andree Melly gained another point because she was speaking as the hooter went. And Andree now is equal with Derek Nimmo second, closely followed by Charmian Innes. But Clement Freud is once again the clear winner. Thank you very much for listening today, and goodbye from us all here. Goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch.
We present Clement Freud, Derek Nimmo, Andree Melly, and Amy MacDonald in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is the man of the minute, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much, and welcome once again to Just a Minute. Just to remind you, each one of them are going to try and speak for just a minute, if they can, on some unlikely subject that I will give them, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviation. And if one of the other three think the fourth one is guilty of one of these crimes, he may press his buzzer in front of him. Just like that. Well done. And if I uphold his challenge, I will award him a point, and he takes over the subject. And if I don't uphold his challenge, whoever is speaking will gain a point. At the end of 60 seconds, you will hear this noise. And whoever is speaking then will gain another point. Well, with those simple thoughts in mind, let us begin this particular edition with a lovely feminine subject for a lovely feminine lady, the lovely Amy MacDonald. Amy, especially for you, we've asked you to talk for just a minute, if you can, on how to stay lovely. Starting now.
Well, that all depends really on how lovely you are to start off with. But if you are lovely and you want to stay lovely, well, there's ever so many things you can do. There are a lot of products on the market, and you can buy things for wrinkles and...
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Hesitation, wrinkles.
Well, alas, yes, I'm sure because she was speaking for the first time she's a little nervous, but I suppose I must be fair within the rules of the game, and Derek, pass it on to you with still 45 seconds. Derek Nimmo, would you try and talk for the last 45 seconds on how to stay lovely, starting now?
Well, my trouble is really that I've
Clement
already
Freud,
gone
why do you
off.
challenge?
Deviation.
I tell you what I'll do, Clement. I will give you a bonus point for that very clever try. But I think within the game we must still stick with Derek Nimmo. So, Derek, how to stay lovely, starting now.
Mud packs.
Clement Freud.
Repetition.
No, you're trying too hard. Derek Nimmo's got another point. How to stay lovely, 43 seconds left. Derek Nimmo starting now.
The best way to stay lovely is to share out some gold powder and put it on your eyelashes. This I find to be particularly useful, especially if you're wearing sequins at the time. I also wear a long, high wig, which I wear a little tiara on the top of.
Andree Melly, why do you challenge?
Hesitation.
Yes, a very slight hesitation. I'm going to give you the benefit of the Melly here and ask you to talk on how to stay lovely starting now.
The best way is to sleep a very great deal. But then, of course, nobody can see how lovely you are. At least one supposes nobody can. If you stay up too late at night and go to bed too late in the morning, you will have black bags under your eyes and lots of wrinkles and linkles, like Miss Amy MacDonald told us about.
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Repetition, Miss Amy MacDonald's already told us about it.
Yes, but she only told us once, and it was a reference to them, so I'm still with Andree Melly with 8 seconds left starting now.
Exercise and fresh air and sunshine and a lovely tan in the summer are very good ways.
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Well, no woman stay lovely. She sounds like a sort of woman cyclist, doesn't she?
So why do you challenge?
Well, deviation. She would make herself very unattractive if she did all that exercise.
Oh, I think a lot of suntan people look very, very delicious. No. So with 3 seconds left with Andree, how to stay lovely starting now.
To be very young is one of the best ways to stay lovely.
Derek, as you are so good at this game, we thought we'd start you off this time with what we think is a difficult one, but certainly a challenging one. I'll give you a second to think about it. It's it. Now, do you think you can talk for just a minute on it, starting now?
Well, of course, I've always been absolutely mad about it, from a very early age. I suppose, really, I must declare my interest in the subject before I really start. I suppose I first really became aware of it, I suppose, when I was about 12 years old. And as one gets older, one finds it increasingly difficult to find it, I suppose. And sometimes, of course, whereas in the past one used to be able to get it for nothing, now you have actually to pay for it. I'm referring...
Andree Melly, why do you challenge?
Repetition.
I quite agree. We've had rather a lot of it. Right, would you take it over, please, and talk, if you can, about it? Still 37 seconds left, starting now.
No!
Derek Nimmo buzzed first.
Hesitation.
Yes, indeed. That's right. You have 36 seconds left for it. Derek Nimmo starting now.
Italian vermouth is something that I like to put in my gin. And when it is put in one's gin, one generally refers to it as gin and it.
No, I'm not going to... What is that, Andree Melly? Hesitation? No.
How did you guess? Now, if it wasn't, how did you guess?
Because I saw his natural impediment from the look on his face coming up. And I have to judge between what is hesitation and what is very difficult. And last time I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I won't penalise you because I think it was a genuine impediment. No penalisation. Derek Nimmo, we're still with you with 30 seconds for it starting now.
The thing that I was talking about before was my collection of pottery. I keep it in cupboards in my bedroom. There are several shelves.
Amy MacDonald, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
Yes, I think he's gone on about pottery, and we were on it, really.
Well, that was it.
What's going on?
No, that's what I was talking about. I said
know,
I
but you went on
interested when I was 12, and I've been interested in it ever since, you see.
That was your it, was it?
Yes.
And you still have 22 seconds left for it and pottery, or whatever it may be, but the subject is it, starting now.
I once went to Famagusta, which is a town in Cyprus, caught a bus in search of it, which I took as far as London.
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Yes, I think so. Yes, with 15 seconds left for it, Clement Freud, will you take it over now?
This is a very splendid word which used at one time to refer to sex appeal and other alluring parts of people. One used to say, what a superwoman, she has it. I haven't used the word before, so you can't challenge me.
Derek Nimmo.
Well, deviation. He said he's talking about not using words before instead of it.
No. If you had said we've had the word it too much before, I would have granted it, but not on that particular challenge. Clement Freud, you still have 2 seconds left for it, starting now.
And there was Marilyn Monroe.
Andree, it is your turn to begin. The subject for you is pocket money, starting now.
If I was a child, I'd go to the National Incomes Board and complain about the state of affairs with pocket money. The cost of living has gone up enormously in the last 20 years, and this particular commodity has not. There are children who still get between 6pence and a shilling, and some who get between 10 shillings and 15 shillings. This seems to have nothing to do with the parents. In fact, it is the very rich ones that give their children about about sixpence, saying they've got to learn the value of money, and all they learn is that it hasn't got any value because you can't get very much for that amount.
Derek Nimmo, you challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, I think so. All right, pocket money for you, Derek. 27 seconds left, starting now.
Sixpences, threepenny bits, shillings, half-crowns, florins, memorial crowns, and all sorts of other coins are monies that I keep in my pocket in case of various emergencies. It might be, for instance, I was walking along Piccadilly and saw a taxi coming towards me in the opposite direction.
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Deviation from his natural impediment. He didn't stammer.
Because the audience applauded, I feel I should give you a bonus point. Do you think I should give Clement Freud a bonus point for that clever try? All right, you've got a bonus point from the audience, Clement Freud. Derek Nimmo still has the subject with 11 seconds left for pocket money, starting now.
What ho, cabby, I cry. Take me down to Trafalgar Square so I can see the lines. Into my pocket I put my hand, and there I find half-crowns.
Clement Freud. Clement, let's have a subject that perhaps you can talk about quite well, gold shares, for just a minute, starting now.
Gold shares are shares in companies that mine gold. And there's a very interesting thing about this, and that is the one thing that you don't want your company to do is actually to find gold. Because if it does that, the assets of the company are far too obvious for everyone to see. What you want is a company that goes on looking for the metal, and while it looks, there's tremendous hope that it'll find much more than anybody.
Derek Nimmo, you have challenged. Why?
Repetition.
What do you think you repeated?
Well, they're keeping on looking for the gold, you see. Obviously, it must be repetitive.
I can't award any points that. It was a very clever try, but I don't think it's justified. Clement Freud, there are still 35 seconds left for gold shares, starting now.
The main parts of Africa in which gold is found are OFS, which stands for Orange Free State. And
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Well, it's not known as Orange Free State anymore. It's the Union of South Africa, so it's deviation.
I believe the Orange Free State is part of the Union of South Africa, so I think it's not justified. There's 25 seconds left with Clement Freud. Gold shares starting now.
There are also districts known as Rand, which are listed in financial newspapers.
Derek Nimmo, you challenge.
Well, it can't also be district because the Rand is part of the Orange Free State up in the Transvaal.
Derek, you seem to know so much about South Africa. We're going to bow to you on this and pass it over to you with 21 seconds left for gold shares starting now.
Whenever I go out and cut a hedge in my back garden.
Andree, Melly, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
Now, this is one of those occasions where he's only started a sentence. I must be fair and allow him to finish. Can you justify gold shares with that sentence very briefly?
I always cut the hedge with my gold shares.
And the way Derek speaks and also acts, I have no doubt that he has got gold shares. So, you have gained a point, Derek, and with still 17 seconds left to carry on with gold shares starting now.
In Johannesburg, I went down into a gold mine to examine...
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Deviation. There are no gold mines in Johannesburg.
You're absolutely right. In the town of Johannesburg, as far as I know, that is right, so it's back...
It's not true. But he means under, don't you, actually? Presumably. But there are plenty of gold mines actually in Johannesburg. The biggest, deepest gold mine in the world is in Johannesburg.
In the town of Johannesburg?
Absolutely in the middle of Johannesburg, yes.
Well, as I haven't been to Johannesburg, I can really trust you. Somebody's going to hit me over the head when the programme's over. I'll have to go back with the person I think knows most about about South Africa, Derek Nimmo. You still have 13 seconds left. Let's get away from South Africa if you can, for the chairman's sake. Gold shares starting now.
There was a famous man called...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Yes, alas, it was. So anyway, Derek got a point just then, so you've got one now, Clement, with now still 10 seconds left. Gold shares starting now.
And so one looks in financial papers for the sort of gold shares that might...
Derek Nimmo.
Repetition. He said gold shares 3 times.
We've had a lot of gold shares. Yes, that is true. We've mentioned it more than...
I have a lot of gold shares.
Good luck on you, son. Derek Nimmo, it is still 6 seconds left for gold shares starting now.
They're generally bits of paper on which you find a lot of writing. This is to indicate the amount of money that you've invested, at least...
Amy MacDonald. Here's a subject. What I like about money starting now.
Well, what I like about money is the fact that you can buy so many things with it, and you can go wherever you want with it, and you can more or less do whatever you want with it. That is, if you have a lot of money. However, some people...
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Repetition, she is having rather a lot of money.
No, I'm sorry, I don't think so. Amy MacDonald, we are still with you with What I Like About Money, with 47 seconds left, starting now.
Well, what I like about money is I think it's a very sensible thing to have. I mean, if we didn't have money, then we'd have to...
Derek Nimmo.
6 monies now. Enough yet for repetition?
Yes, I think so. All right, what I like about money, Derek Nimmo, starting now.
I like its shape, actually, particularly the shape of pound notes. I think it's very attractive, really. I love holding it up to the light and looking through and seeing that little watermark. Very pretty. They picture the old head inside and that little bit of metal. Now, sometimes if you get that bit of metal between your teeth and very slightly like this, you manage to extract it in a great long thin piece. Very useful for wrapping around Christmas presents. I also like half-crowns. Now, half-crowns, something terribly evocative about a half-crown, I think.
Clement Freud.
Repetition, 3 half-crowns.
There were 3 half-crowns, you're quite right. So with 16 seconds left for What I Like About Money, Clement, starting now. Clement Nimmo.
Hesitation.
What I Like About Money, starting now.
3 of the coins I mentioned before.
Hesitation. All right, 14 seconds left for you, Clement Freud. What I Like About Money, starting now.
2 shilling pieces are awfully good, and shilling pieces are pleasant, whereas 6-penny bits are much too small. They go into parking meters and only give you a quarter of an hour, except for some districts where you get...
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Deviation. I do give you more than a quarter of an hour, very often.
What do?
6-penny pieces. The 6-penny pieces you put in...
Yes, but in some places they do only give quarter of an hour, so it's justified. No, I think that's right. 4 seconds left, Clement Freud. What I Like About Money, starting now.
In the other districts, 6pence buys you half an hour, and there are some places where you get...
Well, money has been Clement Freud's ally in this particular game, because with money again, he's now taken the lead with 14 points to Derek Nimmo's 13. Andree Melly a little way behind, and a little way behind that is Amy MacDonald. Derek, a subject which I'm sure is close to every man's heart, very close to yours, I'm sure. Ornithology. Will you talk about ornithology for just a minute, starting now?
Yes, well, I have always been terribly keen on our feathered friends, actually. I remember setting up a hide in my garden in Liverpool when I was quite small to study birds, in particular to study tits. Now, there are an awful lot of tits in Liverpool, actually. There are blue tits and long-tailed tits, marsh tits and coal tits, crest tits.
Andree Melly, why do you challenge?
There are an awful lot of this particular bird he's speaking.
There were quite a lot of that particular bird, weren't there? So, Andree Melly, with 45 seconds left, will you take over ornithology, starting now?
I like to wear a deer stalker and hide behind large bushes.
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation, I'm not interested in her clothes. In fact, she likes to wear a deer stalker.
Yes, but I don't think it's very devious that Andree should wear a deerstalker. She probably looks very lovely in the deerstalker. So with 41 seconds left for ornithology, Andree, will you carry on now?
And study birds in northern Scotland. Large ones made of pretty coloured feathers, and even some of the small variety, are fascinating and somehow very endearing. In the spring, there is the noise of birds to be heard in the gardens of London and in the streets, and in the summer...
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Yes, 20 seconds left, starting now.
Gulls, eagles, sparrows, starlings, crows, thrushes, little hedge sparrows, flamingos...
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
What?
Ornithology is the study of birds, not the definition.
All right, it's not the recitation either. Clement, I'll give it to you with 10 seconds left, starting now.
The important thing when you're an ornithological student is...
Cleric Nimmo, why do you challenge?
I don't really know, actually. I don't quite know. I thought he'd mispronounced the word, but he hadn't.
It's a very clever way to play the game, to buzz first and then think about it. But sometimes all it does is to give a point to the person who's speaking, which in this case is Clement Freud. He has 6 seconds left for ornithology, starting now.
You take your feathered friend into your left hand and turn him upside down to discover whether he really is...
Clement Freud is still a little in the lead, 17 points to Derek Nimmo's 14. Andree Melly has caught up with 7, and Amy is still trailing somewhat. Andree, it is your turn to begin, and as you've played the game many times before and are very clever at it, we've got a subject which I hope will be difficult for you. I'll give you a moment to think about it before I start you. It's nothing. Can you talk for just a minute on the subject of nothing, starting now?
It is the opposite of something. You spell it Nothing. The French for the word is rien, the Italian niente, and the Chinese ho-pa-hong.
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Well, we have to wait at the end.
Chinese hesitation.
Not that long.
Not that long, even in China. No. It is... Also, I thought there might have been deviation for that particular interpretation of nothing for the Chinese. Anyway, 42 seconds left for nothing with you, Clement Freud, starting now.
I searched once for this particular product and looked absolutely everywhere. I walked first of all down Piccadilly and then turned along Park Lane, down Oxford Street.
Andree Melly.
Deviation, you don't find it down there.
It depends which kind of nothing you're looking for. And Clement Freud probably has got his own particular ideas. So with 1 second left, going on now, Clement.
And there in a house in Gloucester Place, I discovered...
on Derek Nimmo.
No, I'm sorry, but if he's deviation, if he's looking for something, he must be looking for something. He can't be looking for nothing.
Very clever challenge. All right, Derek, take it over. 28 seconds left for nothing, starting now.
I once received a brown paper parcel. I undid the string that encompassed the parcel and took off the top layer of paper.
Amy MacDonald, why do you challenge?
Deviation. He's not talking about nothing. He's talking about a parcel.
If I may say, there was nothing inside.
I think I know where he's coming to, so I'll give you a second to justify it, Amy. What is it?
Well, when I opened it, I found there was nothing inside it.
Yes, I think that's entirely justified. Sorry, Amy, he has another point. He carries on with 20 seconds left, starting now.
Underneath the spreading chestnut tree, I once saw absolutely nothing. This was a puzzle.
Hesitation.
Oh, no.
Milking the audience for a cheap laugh.
And you do it in different ways, very cleverly as well, Clement. So we're still with Derek Nimmo with 13 seconds left for nothing, starting now.
Instead of finding what I'd expected to find under the spreading chestnut tree, I found Clement Freud.
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Yes, alas, you're right.
What?
With 7 seconds left for nothing with Clement Freud.
What is in Derek Nimmo's brain has often been described as
Derek Nimmo.
Deviation.
As you can't prove it, I'm afraid we have
Put it to the audience.
All right, I'll put it to the audience, as you say. Do you think that Clement Freud's idea that there is nothing in Derek Nimmo's brain is justified within the context of this game? Remember, we do play it for fun. If so, will you cheer if you agree with Clement Freud? And if not, will you boo and do it now? I'd say it was equal. I would say there's no points awarded. I would say that you have 4 seconds left for nothing, and you start now.
And so I said to this chap, look here, there isn't absolutely anything...
Well, as he was speaking as the hooter went, he has another point. Clement Freud now has 20 to Derek Nimmo 17. Andree is trailing a little with 7. Amy is trailing even more. But no doubt if she keeps her finger on her buzzer and buzzes as rapidly as the men, she might have a chance. Clement, I don't know why they've thought of this one for you. Whether it's to do with some of the way you speak, I hope not. It is throat sprays. I've mentioned the subject first because I think it's time we had a penalty. Because they get rather clever after a time. They mustn't mention the word A. So you've thought about the subject, I hope, throat sprays. You mustn't mention the word A, and you start now.
If your throat is particularly sore, it seems to me to be a very good idea to go to chemist shops.
Derek Nimmo...
Seems to me to be a very good idea.
Seems to me to be a very... Yes, a very good idea. Derek Nimmo, we're with you. 55 seconds left. No A's. Start now.
I once took a throat spray with me.
Derek Clement... A guilty conscience or a Freudian slip, I don't know, but Clement Freud has the subject back. Throat spray starting now.
They're really delightful things which most good chemist shops will sell with a...
Amy MacDonald.
Hesitation.
But Amy, I will help you as you're trailing. He also said A.
Yes.
Yes, he definitely said A. Yes, I've written it down too. Right, throat sprays, Amy MacDonald. Don't mention the word A and start now.
Throat sprays I find a rather fascinating thing.
Clement Freud, why did you say?
What?
She never said it.
Are rather fascinating.
Are rather fascinating. She has another point. She's got another point. And you have throat sprays. And what are you challenged for?
Just want to give her another point.
Yes. So you've given her another point. She still has 43 seconds left for throat sprays. No A's, Amy, starting now.
As I was saying, throat sprays are rather fascinating.
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
I thought she was going to say A, but it's repetition.
You've given her another point.
She
Amy
said
MacDonald?
exactly that before.
Yes, but she's got another point, because I want to favour at this particular moment. Amy, 40 seconds left. Throat sprays with no A's starting now.
As I was saying, I love to...
Repetition, as she was saying.
Yes, so she has another point and she carries on with the subject. Throat sprays, Amy MacDonald, mustn't mention the word A and start now. Derek Nimmo, why?
Well, I have a hesitation or another point, according to
Well, as she hasn't been challenged for hesitation yet, she can have another point and carry on. Now, for the last time, the chairman's on your side, Amy MacDonald, so you've caught up a little. 37 seconds left for throat sprays. No A, starting now.
Once?
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation. Not
Derek
on our
Nimmo,
side.
will you take over throat sprays and start now?
These mouth squirters are terribly useful to take with you to study ornithology.
Amy MacDonald, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
Why?
Well, he's gone back to birds again, hasn't he?
Yes, but he said the throat sprays were useful if you went there, so I think he'll have to be very careful as he continues.
But he was obviously going to go on and on and on about birds, wasn't he?
Yes.
Was not.
You obviously know Derek Nimmo better than many of us. We're still with Derek Nimmo, throat sprays starting now.
Whenever I caught a puffin, I opened its
Clement
mouth.
Freud.
A puffin.
A puffin, yes. No A's in this particular round. 35 seconds left. Clement starting now.
Acutely sore throats react terribly well to spraying with different...
Derek Nimmo.
Well, he's slowed up so much he's nearly stopped. Hesitation.
All right, hesitation. Take it over, Derek Nimmo. Throat sprays, no A's starting now.
Open your mouth wide, said the doctor. Open it even wider, he said again. Let me squat.
Clement Freud. The most dogmatic repetition we've had in the whole of the series. With 11 seconds left, Clement Freud, take it over now.
Keeping mouths closed makes it absolutely impossible to spray throats, whether they belong to small children, adults, women, or even parents.
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Well, he is cataloguing the people that he is referring to. Deviation.
No, he only catalogued the three different things. I'm still with him. 2 seconds left. Clement Freud, starting now.
And so you go to doctors.
Yeah. Clement Freud is still a little in the lead from Derek Nimmo. Amy MacDonald, with the chairman's help, has caught up equal into third place with Andree Melly. So, Clement Freud is just the winner in this particular contest. A nice round of applause for Clement.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch.